Vol 222, Kali Demigods. When the topic of money was broached, Yasuo Kavi's tears abruptly ceased, his trembling body steadied, and strength returned to his legs. Rising from the ground, one of his compound eyes still twitched nervously. "Sir, our people have long been besieged by the Kali invaders. We've exhausted everything in resistance, leaving us with scant resources. However, we do possess some mines on our planet that could serve as collateral, if that's acceptable." Tang Xiao couldn't help but chuckle. "I presume not all these mines you speak of are situated within the territories currently occupied by the Kali, correct?" Yasuo Kavi responded with a hint of bitterness. "The Kali have invaded our homeland, seizing many of our territories. Their tactics are despicable, targeting our most valuable assets. We've been forced to concentrate our dwindling resources on defending our hatcheries, leaving us powerless to reclaim the mining areas." Tang Xiao was taken aback. "So let me get this straight. You're unable to offer any monetary compensation, yet you expect me to supply you with weapons and assist in retaking these mining areas?" "We truly are at our wits' end, my lord." Yasuo Kavi resumed his wailing. "Goodbye," Tang Xiao said, ending the communication abruptly. After a moment's contemplation, he reached out to Francis Underwood, who was stationed far away on Coruscant, inquiring, "Frank, what's your awareness regarding the recent developments on planet Kali?" "Oh, I'm quite familiar. I've been involved to some extent," Francis replied with a smile. Tang Xiao found this curious. "And how did it come to involve you?" "To be precise, it was a negotiation between me and Rune Harcourt," Francis explained. To put it bluntly, he accepted substantial bribes from the Yamray, hoping to secure a favorable outcome for them in the Galactic Council. "But why do you ask, manager?" "It appears the trade union delegated the matter to the Interstellar Banking Association, which in turn has approached our fourth group. Now the Yamray are seeking our assistance in importing weapons and supplies," Tang Xiao explained, his brow furrowed. "With all due respect, manager, the Yamray have invested heavily in bribing officials on Coruscant. It's doubtful they have sufficient funds to afford weapons and equipment. Frankly, business ventures on planet Kali seem unprofitable. However, there's significant potential for political maneuvering," Francis advised. "In essence, it's a deal between me and Rune Hako. He's looking for leverage to curry favor with Newt Gunray while we seek the trade union's support." It became clear why neither the trade union nor the Interstellar Banking Association were eager to engage with this matter. After a brief exchange with Francis, Tang Xiao ended the call, lost in thought. His communicator continued to flash with incoming signals, undoubtedly from Yasuo Kave, persistently seeking aid. Tang Xiao felt no sympathy for the mantis-like beings, considering the history between the Kali and the Yamray. The Yamray, once dominant in that sector of space, were technologically superior and populous. They had subjugated several neighboring planets, enslaving their inhabitants. The Kali, despite their martial prowess, were initially no match for the Yamray's advanced technology, armed only with primitive weapons like spears and bows. The Kali's inherently savage nature made enslavement by the Yamray a fate worse than death. The Yamray's reliance on such brutal exploitation for wealth accumulation only intensified as they joined the Republic, seeking to trade for advanced goods from the trade union. This escalating cruelty eventually sparked resistance, with the Kali among the fiercest opponents. Arrow and spear stood no chance against the might of a tank spaceship, yet among the Kali people, two heroes emerged, Kimanjai and Rondarulij Kumar. Their bravery was unparalleled, and under their leadership, the Kali launched daring raids, capturing the arsenals of the Yamray. This feat armed them with advanced weaponry, a miraculous achievement led by these near-mythical war leaders. Without any industrial base of their own, the Kali people armed themselves entirely with weapons seized from the Yamray. Through a cycle of combat, they continuously armed themselves with the enemy's arsenal, achieving the impossible. Kumanjai and Kumar's efforts turned the tide, allowing a civilization still in the age of cold weapons to defeat a race from the Star Age. Their popularity soared among the Kali, who came to regard them as demigods, believing their achievements transcended worldly honor. Together, these two were responsible for the deaths of thousands of Yamray, commanding their forces with divine strategy. Under their leadership, the Kali army became a ghostly presence, striking the Yamrai at their most vulnerable points, pushing them back to a defensive position on Kali's planet. However, the Yamrai eventually devised a trap that led to Kumar's death on the beach, a loss that deeply affected Kimeanjai. As the Yamrai celebrated what they thought was an impending victory, they were unprepared for Kimeanjai's return. Grieving for his fallen comrade, Kimeanjai underwent a transformation, adopting a more ruthless and cruel demeanor, along with a new name, Grievous. Under Grievous's command, the Kali forces became even more formidable, launching relentless attacks that targeted the Yamrai's vulnerabilities. The tide of the war shifted dramatically, with the Yamrai losing ground, and eventually their spaceship was captured in a daring raid led by Grievous. The conflict escalated to the Yamrai's homeworld, marking a point of no return for both races. The war had devolved into a relentless slaughter, with no possibility of prisoners or peace. Faced with the threat of extinction on their own planet by a civilization that wielded cold weapons, the Yamrai were forced to seek a political solution. They reached out to the Galactic Republic, offering the wealth they had accumulated over centuries in hopes of finding a resolution. Understanding the gravity of the situation, Tang Xiao knew what needed to be done. He initiated communication with a tap of his finger, ready to navigate the complex political landscape that lay ahead. Vol 2, Chapter 263, Allies, Simithians. Sir, I implore you to save us. The Kali people are committing genocide. The Republic will never stand by idly. Please. The moment the communication connected, Yasuokavi's desperate plea came through. I can provide you with weapons and supplies on behalf of the Republic. However, let's be clear. The name is just a name and business is business. You must offer your mineral resources as collateral for these supplies. To ensure the transaction is completed, the collateral must be the mining areas on your home planet, Hook, Tang Xiao stated calmly. Kavi's eyes darted around nervously. Sir, is it not possible to use other mining areas as collateral? Most of the mining areas on our home planet are nearly depleted, and they've been severely damaged by the Kali people. I'm afraid their output won't amount to much. This is my final offer. It's an opportunity for you to receive aid without upfront cost. Either you accept or you seek help elsewhere. There is no alternative, Tang Xiao declared firmly. I understand. We accept your condition, Kavi finally conceded. He had approached the trade union and the Interstellar Banking Association, but those influential entities were not willing to offer assistance without substantial guarantees. Now, having found a willing partner in Tang Xiao, he felt a mixture of relief and resignation, having no other options. Someone will be dispatched to finalize the agreement with you. Then, we can look forward to a fruitful collaboration. Tang Xiao concluded the communication with a tone that was anything but warm. Next, he contacted Gross Shelby. How is our cooperation with the Samirs progressing? It's moving forward, but Senator Thumbback Tula still needs time to navigate the political landscape, Shelby responded. In that case, I'll temporarily reassign the S-Fleet stationed on Samiris. Find someone to oversee our deal with the Yamrai. Draft a contract that uses their home planet's mineral resources as collateral in exchange for a shipment of weapons and supplies. Ensure all weapons are models from the Galactic Republic, like the EE-3 blaster rifle, and that all supplies bear the Galactic Republic's insignia, Tang Xiao instructed. Shelby, after reviewing the relevant data, looked up with concern. Manager, I doubt the Yamrai's commitment to fulfilling these pledges. Given their current military situation, they're no match for the Kali. Unless we significantly increase our support to help them reclaim lost territories, but that would be a poor investment. Essentially, the mines in the Kali-controlled areas aren't theirs to offer. That's irrelevant. The Kali will retreat. Just proceed as planned. Also, arrange a covert caravan for me. I'll personally negotiate with the Kali. Fill the cargo ship with the Type 21 assault rifles we manufacture, Tang Xiao said confidently. You're going personally? Couldn't we send a representative for such matters? No, this individual warrants a personal visit, Tang Xiao replied with a slight smile. But the Type 21 assault rifle is out of production, and most of our stock has already been sent to Celia. It might be challenging to gather a significant quantity quickly. Then use the M8 Avenger pulse rifle instead. It will suffice. Tang Xiao dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. All right, I'll start making the arrangements immediately. Shelby nodded and promptly set to work. In the capital of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, the conflict between the Kali and the Yamre was a topic of quiet discussion, even within the Galactic Republic Council. Envoys from the Yamre had arrived in Coruscant, seeking support. Coruscant was, as ever, a nexus of countless political undercurrents. In a sunlit dining room, Francis Underwood was having breakfast with a Semirish official. The government of planet Semirth has now agreed to our cooperation plan. Despite the presence of many hardliners, they were all eventually persuaded by me, one by one. Now the collaboration B between Planet Dawn and Planet Semirth to construct a space dock of 1,000 meters is nearly finalized. It's truly been a challenging journey. This was clearly stated by the counselor of their planet, Tunbuktura. An array of exquisite food was laid out before her, the items collectively worth tens of thousands of credit points. Her breakfast was nothing short of luxurious. We are fully aware of Senator Tula's assistance to us. Rest assured, we are fully committed to this project. The Interstellar Banking Association has granted us an order for 20 Apocalypse-class light cruisers. On this project alone, the reported profit is a staggering 95%. Francis Underwood remarked casually as he took a small bite of steak. The Interstellar Banking Association is indeed extremely generous. Thunback Tula responded with a knowing smile. You can count on our full support, Frank, for next month's proposal for Planet Dawn to join the Galactic Council. The Semir Siren will back you wholeheartedly. Francis smiled, observing the plump Semirzian man before him. Despite not understanding the Semir's aesthetic preferences, it was clear that a man of his stature, adorned in lavish clothing, could hardly be described as beautiful. Counselor Thunback Tula, representing planet Semirth, hailed from one of the most industrially advanced planets in the outer ring of the Milky Way, wielding significant influence in the region. With such strong backing, Tula's lifestyle was nothing short of extravagant. Known for her greed and indulgence, she didn't just flaunt clothes made of precious materials, but also had a star-level partner at her beck and call. It's not merely about space docks or cruisers. What's more critical? Francis leaned in closer, is that you have the factories and we have the technology. If our two planets can form an alliance, our position in the outer ring sector will be significantly strengthened. In the spirit of our friendship, we are willing to share the blueprint of the Vengeance-class light cruiser for free. Indeed, the Semirs were Tang Xiao's allies in the Outer Ring star region, not just because of planet Semirth's developed industry, but also because of Thunback Tula. Despite her apparent greed, lust, and extravagance, she was a remarkably reliable ally. In the original storyline, Thunback Tula, who had joined the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, chose not to surrender to the Galactic Empire after the Confederation's defeat, but instead resisted to the very end. She reactivated numerous battle robots, organized the remnants of the Confederation, and formed a fleet to oppose the Imperial fleet that was sweeping across the galaxy at that time. Ultimately, she was surrounded by the 12th Army of the Galactic Empire on the planet Terrasima, fighting to the last person. Therefore, Tang Xiao recognized that beneath her ostentatious exterior lay an idealist. Such a person was undoubtedly the perfect candidate for an ally. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Counselor of Planet Semirth, Thunback Tula. Vol 2, Chapter 264, Political Victim. Upon hearing Francis's offer to directly provide them with the blueprint of the battleship, Thunback Tula's smile widened, his cheeks jiggling with joy. Planet Semils, despite its industrial development, largely thrived through cooperation with trade alliances, focusing on reprocessing and OEM orders. The Semins, known for their industrious nature, robust health, and high intelligence, boasted a population of 10 billion. Yet, their industrial achievements were hampered by a lack of resources and core technology, leaving them with few products of their own design and manufacture. Consider the hypothetical scenario where, in the 1990s, a blueprint for a Ticonderoga-class cruiser was handed to an underdeveloped nation. The nation would likely celebrate such a windfall for months. Similarly, the blueprint for the Vengeance-class light destroyer represented more than just a new product line for the Semiers. It offered a gateway to technological advancement and self-sufficiency. In the grand scheme of the galaxy, fewer than 100 planets or entities could claim the ability to design and manufacture spacecraft over 100 meters in length on their own. These elite few were mostly located in the galaxy's inner ring and core areas, far removed from the outer ring star area where Semils was situated. This collaboration was wholeheartedly embraced by Semiels, from top to bottom, enhancing Thunback Tula's influence on the planet significantly. Her visit to negotiate with Francis Underwood was driven by more than just goodwill. Francis, demonstrating his acumen, revealed that the profit margin on the 20 Apocalypse-class light cruisers was a mere 95%, translating to a substantial sum of hundreds of thousands of credit points, all of which would go directly to her. Their conversation flowed smoothly, and Francis even promised to introduce Tula to a top fashion designer on the planet Dawn, further delighting her. The strategic partnership between Dawn Planet and Semiels Planet was cemented over a lavish breakfast, setting the stage for future mutual visits and the eventual signing of a formal cooperation agreement. With her spirits high, Thunback Tula indulged in the breakfast spread before her, seemingly adding to her already considerable frame. However, her demeanor shifted to one of seriousness as she broached a more troubling subject with Francis, her voice dropping to a whisper. "But something has happened recently that's causing us a great deal of concern, Mr. Frank." Francis, intrigued, prompted her to continue. "This war between the Kali and the Yamre," she began cautiously, "has us worried about the stance of the Galactic Republic. We all know the Yamre are the aggressors, yet their incompetence has led to them being driven back by the Kali." Francis listened intently, signaling for after-dinner drinks as Tula expressed her concerns about the Galactic Republic's policies against slavery, genocide, and the invasion of other intelligent races' planets, policies the Yamre had repeatedly violated. And yet, the Republic's response, "It's troubling. We fear what might happen to us." Francis leaned in, his voice calm. "You see, the Kali made two critical errors." Tula, intrigued, asked, "What errors?" Francis explained. "Firstly, they too engaged in genocide and invaded planets of other intelligent races, actions that contravene the Galactic Republic's constitution. However, this isn't the crux of the issue. Such actions can be overlooked under certain circumstances." Francis spoke with a grave tone. "The problem lies not just in their first mistake, but in their second, more critical error. They believe that eliminating the invaders is all that matters." Tula, visibly confused, responded, "I don't quite follow, Mr. Frank. The Kali people are still entrenched in the era of cold weapons. In their view, war is simply war. However, for the Galactic Republic, war is a tool for politics," Francis explained, pausing to take a sip of his wine. "The Kali people may have won the war, but that I failed to navigate the political aftermath. They didn't even attempt to engage with the Republic. This is their most fatal mistake." "But can we really blame them for this?" Thunback Tula inquired. "In a way, yes. Their refusal to adhere to the rules set by the Galactic Republic is also a mistake," Francis replied. Thunback Tula, her frustration evident, stood up and said with a hint of sadness, "So, the verdict has already been decided?" "The Kali invaded the home planet of the Yamrai, massacred their people, and rejected the Republic's attempts at mediation," Francis stated calmly. Thunback Tula downed her wine in one gulp. Having consumed a considerable amount already, she staggered towards the door. As she passed Francis Underwood, she asked in a daze, "Mr. Frank, what is your opinion on the Galactic Republic's rules?" Raising his wineglass, Francis replied cryptically, "To our alliance." In the days that followed, the conflict between the Kali and the Yamrai began to unravel. The Yamrai, in collusion with the Trade Federation, bribed officials throughout the Galactic Republic. Since the war in the outer space was deemed by many officials to have no political significance, they saw no harm in accepting bribes, believing it would not impact their political careers. When managing a village, the life events of each villager are significant. However, when governing a country, the value of individual lives starts to diminish, overshadowed by collective interests. And in a galaxy with an uncountable population, these concerns become mere statistics. A biased report, completely disregarding the truth, landed on the desk of the Galactic Council speaker, Finis Valorum. The Kali, fighting against the threat of enslavement and annihilation by the Yamre, stood up to an interstellar civilization with only their primitive weapons. Despite the vast technological and power disparities, they endured greater losses and sacrifices, driven by the hope for their civilization's future. Generation after generation of Kali warriors, led by the war gods Hilal and Kumar, fought valiantly. Kumar even sacrificed his life in the struggle. Yet, just as victory was within their grasp, the Galactic Republic branded them as the aggressors. Vol 2, Chapter 265, Inverting Black and White. Finis Valorum glanced at the report in front of him, feeling completely overwhelmed. The robot riot at the Eliadu Business Summit had escalated many of the galaxy's underlying tensions, leading to open and covert conflicts among traditional industrial powerhouses, business magnates, and major political entities. The Galactic Republic's parliament was starkly divided into two factions. One, primarily from the central and inner planets, advocated for reform and a tougher stance to quell dissent. The other, representing many of the middle and outer ring planets, expressed deep concern over the Republic's ability to protect them, seeking autonomy. Amidst the constant bickering of parliamentarians and the power struggles, Valorum found himself isolated, with his trusted deputy speaker, Botan, ousted due to the summit's fallout. Now, his only confidant was Naboo's planetary counselor, Schiff Palpatine. When Valorum reviewed the report detailing the conflict between the Kali and the Yamre, his patience wore thin. The Kali have attacked the Yamre's homeland, committing atrocities. This aggression must be halted, or the Republic's credibility will be at stake, he declared. Palpatine, standing by, responded, "It's complicated, Your Excellency. Despite the Yamre's pleas, the Kali refused to engage with us. Why would a Republic member ignore our calls?" Valorum slammed his fist on the table, frustration evident in his voice. "They rejected the ceasefire," Palpatine explained calmly. Valorum, seething, continued, "How dare they disregard the Republic? I understand the Yamri were initially at fault, but the Kali's response, recapturing their planet only to invade the Yamri's homeworld, is excessive. What should be our response? Arms dealers are already looking to exploit the situation, which could escalate the conflict further," Palpatine noted with concern. "First, we must demand the Kali withdraw from the Yamri's homeworld, Hook. Then, they should come to Coruscant to negotiate. Senator Palpatine, who do you think could mediate this effectively? Perhaps Senator Bel Organa." Valorum pondered. Palpatine shook his head. "This goes beyond parliamentary intervention, Your Excellency. The conflict has reached a point of no return. Perhaps it's time to involve the Jedi Order." Valorum hesitated, recalling the Order's recent failure at Eliadu. Can we trust them after such a blunder? "This could be their opportunity for redemption," Palpatine suggested. After a moment of contemplation, Valorum agreed. "Then let's instruct Master Windu, on behalf of the Galactic Council, to halt this war." At the Jedi Temple, Evan Peel, a member of the Jedi High Council, expressed his outrage. "Does the Republic think we're at their beck and call? They blame us for the Eliadu debacle, and now they want our help with the Kali conflict." "Anger is unproductive," Master Yoda interjected calmly, urging them to consider the situation's implications. Jedi Master Oppo Rensisis added, "The Yamri were the initial aggressors, enslaving and massacring the Kali. It's clear who the real invaders are." "The priority is to end this war swiftly," Master Windu declared. "Our allegiance is to the Republic, and we must act accordingly." Considering the perspective of the Republic, the Coruscant prosecutors have concluded that the Kali's invasion of the Murray people's homeland is undeniable. Consequently, our immediate priority is to facilitate their withdrawal. The subsequent actions, including addressing the grievances and determining the aggressors and victims, will be handled by the Republic Congress, stated a determined voice. "It's crucial to halt the conflict first. The question of who is the enslaver and who is the invader can be addressed once peace is restored," Ki-Adi-Mundi supported, adding, "Our Jedi Order's intervention in mediating this war could prove more effective than previous attempts by the Republic fleet." In such discussions, Master Yoda often remained silent, allowing others to lead the decision-making process. After consulting with fellow members of the Supreme Council, Master Windu resolved, the Jedi Order will take on the role of mediator in this conflict. We will send an envoy, led by Master Chuka Dawn and Master Kemal. Considering the current irrational state of both parties, it's imperative that we deploy more personnel, Master Yaddle interjected. I will take that into full consideration. Master Windu acknowledged with a nod. After navigating through hyperspace, a YV-65 Oro-class cargo ship arrived in the remote and untamed reaches of space, landing on Hook, the home planet of the Yamrai. The ship descended into the planet's atmosphere, heading straight for the Kali-occupied territory in the southern hemisphere, a region dominated by dense, primitive jungles that favored the Kali's guerrilla warfare tactics. Shortly after, a communication request was received, and the image of a Kali man adorned with a bone mask and war patterns beneath his eyes appeared on the screen. His voice was distinctly raspy, a characteristic of his people. State your purpose. You have only one opportunity. We do not welcome strangers here. I come bearing a shipment of weapons and supplies. My intention is to forge an alliance, Tang Xiao declared, his voice altered, as he stood cloaked in black, his face obscured by a hood. Friends? We have no need for friends, the Kali man retorted. Perhaps not friends, but you are in dire need of weapons and ammunition. Your current strategy of seizing armaments from the Yamrai is unsustainable. I offer a solution to your supply issue, Tang Xiao countered. Proceed 20 kilometers south. You'll find a meadow suitable for landing. Be warned, your ship is currently targeted by at least 3 anti-aircraft missile systems. I advise against any rash actions, the Kali man sternly advised. Upon landing in the designated meadow, Tang Xiao was immediately encircled by a host of Kali warriors, emerging from the woods armed with a mix of rusty rifles and sharp spears, their intent clearly hostile. Stepping off the spaceship with his hands raised to signal no ill intentions, Tang Xiao called out, "Take me to your leader." Grievous. Vol 2, Chapter 266, Making Friends. A stranger has no right to meet our demigods, declared a Kali warrior, brandishing a spear aggressively. Tang Xiao responded with a cold smile. Oh, so, you've become a demigod, and now fear facing others? Never mind, it seems I've approached the wrong person. I'll take my leave. With that, he turned, intending to board his spaceship. However, at that moment, a loud bang echoed. Before the sound of the gunshot fully registered, Tang Xiao had already subtly shifted his position. The bullets didn't target him, but instead struck the spaceship's door directly. "Do you think you can just come and go as you please here?" exclaimed a Kali warrior, wielding a rifle. He appeared to be a captain, as he gestured commandingly and ordered, "Search his spaceship, and be cautious." Several Kali warriors advanced towards Tang Xiao's spaceship. Tang Xiao, however, made no move to stop them, allowing the search to proceed. After a brief period, the warriors emerged and reported, "We've searched it. The ship is laden with weapons and ammunition. This spaceship could be converted into a bomb at any moment. Don't let this spaceship anywhere near the demigods. Seize this man." The captain commanded a few soldiers to escort Tang Xiao into the dense woods. "Make sure I get to see Hilal," Tang Xiao insisted as they led him away. "Hilal is dead," a somber voice announced. Then, a tall Kali emerged from the group and approached Tang Xiao. "The one before you is Grievous." Tang Xiao observed the Kali. He was tall but surprisingly lean, not the robust figure one might expect. His face was concealed behind an ancestral animal bone mask, with battle lines drawn in blood across where his eyes would be. He wore a weathered cape, his head wrapped in a turban, and a modified sniper rifle, clearly looted from the Yamrai, slung over his back. This firearm, still a gunpowder weapon, signified that even the technologically superior Yamrai people didn't possess much advanced technology. "You are Grievous?" Tang Xiao inquired, his tone reflecting a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "You've seen me. Now, state your purpose," Grievous demanded, his voice devoid of emotion. Yet, beneath the mask, Tang Xiao sensed a profound sadness in his eyes. No mystical force was needed to feel it. Tang Xiao smiled, gestured towards the spaceship, and announced, "Then, consider the ship's cargo of weapons and ammunition yours. It contains 4,000 M8 Avenger assault rifles, 50,000 capacitors, and 2 million rounds of ammunition, along with 1,000 rocket launchers and 5,000 rockets. Grievous, however, remained unimpressed, replying coldly, "Even without your offer, the cargo would have been mine." "Are you seeking more?" Tang Xiao asked, a playful smile on his lips. "It depends on how much your friends are willing to pay for your release," Grievous retorted. Tang Xiao sighed deeply, his expression turning serious. "If you persist in this manner, you're heading towards certain death." "That's none of your concern," Grievous interjected sharply. "You should be more worried about your own life." "Let me propose a deal. I'll supply you with arms and food, and in exchange, you provide me with mineral resources, or perhaps some mercenaries," Tang Xiao suggested. "We have no interest in making deals with anyone. We refuse to negotiate," Grievous declared. Tang Xiao sighed once more. "You're a demigod among the Kali and a general, correct? Yet, you're not the leader of the Kali. What's your point? I am Kali through and through, and I will eventually become the war chief," Grievous asserted, his voice growing fierce. "My point is, many things are beyond your control. Do you really believe that defeating the Yamriids on the battlefield is the end? No, you've lost because the Yamriids have taken their grievances to the Galactic Republic Council," Tang Xiao explained calmly. The atmosphere tensed, and Grievous's voice grew harsher, as if grinding against rust. "Those despicable Huks enslaved us, massacred us, and plundered our resources. Why would they have the audacity to accuse us? They are the ones who should be held accountable. Be the ones who deserve to die." The term Huk, as used by the Kali people, translates to soulless worm, a phrase teeming with ridicule and insult. However, it's clear that the Republic doesn't share this view, Tang Xiao remarked, placing a communicator before Grievous. "You now face 3 choices. First, you could kill me, but that would lead to your downfall. Second, you could kidnap me, securing a hefty ransom, but that's a one-time opportunity. Third, we could become allies." "Did you travel all the way from the Galactic Republic just to propose friendship and deliver such unsettling news?" Grievous inquired, skepticism lacing his tone. "Many dismiss the brave Kali as insignificant, and the resources on Kali planet are scarce. However, I believe you deserve a better fate. That's why I'm here," Tang Xiao explained, standing to face Grievous, awaiting his response. "What's your name? What can you offer us? And what do you seek in return?" Grievous asked, his voice slow and deliberate. "You may call me Death Angel," Tang Xiao replied, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Remove your cloak, then we can talk." Grievous observed Tang Xiao, noting how the shadow of the hood obscured the upper half of his face, rendering it impenetrable. "Reveal your true face in 10 years, Tang Xiao proposed. "And what makes you think you'll still be alive in 10 years? Grievous retorted coldly. "If I'm not alive in 10 years, then my appearance won't matter," Tang Xiao responded. "Have we concluded our business? I'm ready to leave. Will you attempt to kidnap me, let me go, or are we heading towards a confrontation?" "Are you genuinely here just to forge a friendship?" Grievous questioned, still wary. "The future may hold many challenges, so if you find yourself in need, seek me out," Tang Xiao offered, gesturing a phone call with his hand before turning to leave Grievous's camp. Shortly after Tang Xiao's spaceship departed from Hook, the Republic's special mission arrived at the Kali people's homeworld, Kali. The delegation was led by Jedi Masters Chuka Dawn and Kamal, accompanied by a contingent of 50 Jedi Knights. They brought with them the Galactic Republic's final decree. The Kali must cease all hostilities immediately and return all occupied Yamray territories. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Kidman Jai Halal, a demigod among the Kali people, who would later become the infamous General Grievous. Vol 2, Chapter 267, Persecution. The news sent shockwaves through the entire planet of Kali. The inhabitants couldn't comprehend the situation. They were the ones enslaved, slaughtered, and exploited. Yet when they rose up against their oppressors, it was they who were ordered to withdraw by the Republic. Why were the aggressors not being held accountable while the victims faced punishment? In the grand hall of the Kali people's palace, the great chief's face was a mask of disbelief. His voice trembled as he addressed the Republic diplomat before him. "Is this true? Why has the Republic ordered us to withdraw? When the Huk invaded our homeland and enslaved our people, why wasn't there a call for their withdrawal? Why do the Republic's envoys only appear now when we seek justice for the millions dead? His questions were an indictment of the Kali's plight, yet they seemed destined to go unanswered. The diplomat from the Galactic Republic responded with a cold indifference. This is the resolution passed by the Parliament of the Galactic Republic. If you have grievances with the Yamre, you may present them at the Galactic Parliament. However, your current invasion and the resulting slaughter of Yamre civilians are undeniable facts. You must withdraw. And what of the atrocities committed by the Huck? The lives they took, the wealth they plundered, the unspeakable crimes on our planet, the great chief demanded. So, the Kali people refused to comply with the Republic's decision? The diplomat retorted, eager to shift the blame. At this moment, a bald Jedi Knight stood. You are steering this situation towards a dire outcome, Mr. Diplomat. I will report this conversation in full to the speaker, he declared. He was Chuka Dorn, leader of the Jedi mission. The diplomat, whose pockets were lined with bribes from the Yamre, merely snorted and fell silent. Chuka Dorn approached the great chief, bowing deeply. Your Excellency, the current circumstances are highly unfavorable for the Kali. The war on the Yamre homeworld and the civilian casualties have turned public opinion against you. My advice is to withdraw your forces now and then seek justice through the Republic prosecutor. The Jedi Order and the Republic. Are you pushing us to our demise? The great chief accused, pointing directly at Chuka Dorn. Unperturbed, Chuka Dorn bowed again. If the Yamre's prior crimes are verified, they will face the consequences. I urge you to have faith in the Republic. Faith in the Republic? Where was the Republic when our homeland was invaded, when our people were slaughtered, when our families were forced to toil in the Huck's mines? Could you still tell us to believe? The great chief retorted angrily. With all due respect, Your Majesty, persisting in this course will only worsen your situation, Chuka Dorn warned. If we refuse to withdraw, will the Republic dispatch a fleet against us? The great chief inquired, his tone now calm. The Jedi Order's mission here was to prevent such an outcome, Chuka Dorn replied earnestly, believing this to be in the Kali's best interest. He had hoped the conflict could be resolved without further violence, advocating for dialogue over warfare. However, he failed to see the bigger picture. Sometimes words can be more lethal than weapons. Grievous, the Kali chief, cast the withdrawal order to the floor, facing his 8 most courageous and skilled generals. The Republic's demand for our withdrawal is akin to sentencing the Kali people to death. But the Republic force us to withdraw. Otherwise, the Republic fleet will intervene by force. The word Republic was spoken through gritted teeth, his eyes ablaze with fury. If we miss this chance to annihilate the Huck, they will surely regroup. Their technology surpasses ours. They can traverse the stars. The transport ships we've captured will soon run out of fuel. I doubt they'll let us seize another ship so easily. Nor do I believe the Galactic Republic will sell us one, especially since we can't afford it. Grievous explained, laying out the harsh reality. The 8 generals seated before him clenched their fists tightly. No words were spoken, but their bulging veins and bloodshot eyes spoke volumes of their seething rage. Grievous surveyed them briefly before continuing. Once the truce is enforced, our chance to defeat the Huck will vanish. We'll be confined to our homes, waiting for them to rebuild their forces. More ships, more artillery to decimate our people. Would the Republic even bother to intervene then? Silence prevailed among the generals, but the fierce determination in their eyes, barely concealed by their animal bone masks, was evident. Grievous pointed to a map on the wall. Here, the Patron Hills, lies the Huck's main stronghold. My initial strategy involved a multi-directional assault to stretch their forces thin, creating an opening for us. But time is a luxury we no longer have. I will muster our remaining forces and strike at the heart of the Patron Hills. Once the Huck forces there are eradicated, it will take them decades to amass an army of similar strength. He surveyed the room. This mission is akin to a suicide attack, but with the equipment provided by the dead angel, victory remains within our grasp. Let us, the Kali people, sacrifice our lives for a chance at 20 years of peace. At his words, the 8 generals rose as one. Drawing their daggers, they each carved a deep mark beneath the eyes on their animal bone masks. a sacred ritual signifying their readiness to fight to the death. Countless Kali warriors emerged from their woodland hideouts, charging towards the Yamre base amidst a storm of gunfire. Their cries for survival and freedom echoed through the air as they bravely forged a path for their comrades, willing to pay the ultimate price for a glimmer of hope. Vol 2, Chapter 268, Inaugural Governor. After enduring relentless persecution by the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order, the Kali were compelled to negotiate a truce with the Yamrai. Their warriors evacuated the Yamrai's homeworld of Hook, returning to their devastated homeland, vowing never to set foot there again. Grievous, revered as the demigod of the Kali people, vanished without a trace, his whereabouts unknown. Despite the Yamrai's insistence on labeling Grievous as the war's most notorious criminal and demanding the Republic to issue a warrant for his arrest, political pressures prevented any action. However, the conflict was far from over. Following the Republic's ceasefire order, the Kali launched a massive offensive. They besieged the Yamrai military base in the Patron Hills, annihilating the last of the Yamrai's 100,000 elite troops. A subsequent fire obliterated the arsenal, destroying the advanced weaponry and equipment the Yamrai had acquired from the Republic. In this fierce battle, 6 of Grievous's 8 generals perished heroically, and 230,000 Kali warriors were laid to rest in their homeland, including the wounded who could not be evacuated due to a shortage of ships. The treatment of the remaining Kali on the Yamrai homeworld was predictably harsh. Compounding their woes, influential Yamrai officials within the Republic's bureaucracy nearly bankrupted themselves in their efforts to sway public opinion. A report, heavily biased and exaggerated, reached Speaker Finis Valorum's desk. Misled by the report, Phoenix Valorum concluded that the Kali lacked genuine intentions for peace and rejected any mediation efforts by the Republic. Consequently, he ordered a complete trade embargo on the Kali planet and imposed a crippling fine of 10 million credits. This sanction was a devastating blow to the Kali, a civilization that primarily relied on cold weapons. Earning 10 million credits in the Galactic Republic's market was an insurmountable challenge for them. Despite these hardships, the war finally came to an end, and the officials of Coruscant celebrated, believing they had contributed to the Republic's peace. Even the Jedi Order, under Master Windu, considered it a favorable outcome. A month later, the population of Dawn Planet exceeded 2 million, demonstrating a high degree of civilization and a willingness to contribute to the Republic's cause. Consequently, Naboo Planet Councilor Shifpa Ulpatine proposed that Dawn Planet be admitted to the Galactic Council. The proposal was formally submitted for discussion and voting. Tang Xiao arrived in Coruscant, dressed in full regalia. This was his first visit to the Galactic Republic's capital since arriving in this world, and he was awestruck by the galaxy's most prosperous planet. To conceal the dark side within him, he spent 3 days in meditation on Dawn Planet, adhering to a strict vegetarian diet, a practice akin to 3 days of fasting and purification. In Coruscant, Tang Xiao, alongside Dawn Planet's representative and future Senator Francis Underwood, met with influential figures including Naboo Planetary Senator Schiff Palpatine, Raynos Planetary Senator, Ring Faction Leader Senator Aun Frita, and Councilor Thunback Tula of Planet Semith. For many of Francis Underwood's old acquaintances, this was their first encounter with the enigmatic leader of Dawn Planet, sparking immense curiosity. I had many theories about the leader of Dawn Planet, but I never imagined he would be so young. To lead Dawn Planet through such rapid growth and development at your age is truly remarkable. The future indeed looks bright, remarked one of the senators, impressed by Tang Xiao's achievements and potential. In the hotel conference room where Tang Xiao was staying, Senator Palpatine greeted him with a warm smile. In the vastness of the galaxy, there is hope. That's it. Tang Xiao, having thoroughly prepared for this visit, responded with a demeanor of leadership. This place, Dawn Planet, is currently providing a sanctuary for those of us who were without a home. Without the significant assistance from the Galactic Republic, and especially Senator Palpatine, we would have faced dire circumstances. Our location in the remote Endor galaxy has its challenges. Senator Palpatine chuckled. I don't know why, but I feel a certain kinship when I see you, It seems we are cut from the same cloth, both of us brimming with enthusiasm for the Republic and optimistic about the future. Tang Xiao replied with a smile. Indeed, despite the current adversities facing the Republic, I maintain my belief that it will continue to improve. After exchanging pleasantries, they parted ways. Tang Xiao was a busy man, with a schedule packed with meetings. Representatives from the Quarter Power Dockyard and Lundilly Interstellar Dynamics sought him out, their interest piqued by the Fourth Group. They were eager to understand the relationship between the Fourth Group and Dawn Planet, and how this partnership facilitated the construction of the interstellar colony. Additionally, they probed for opportunities to sway Tang Xiao into becoming a high-value client, especially since Lundilly Interstellar Dynamics was seeking to regain its competitive edge over Quarter Power Dock by offering to assist Dawn Planet in developing a comprehensive industrial system. Later, Tang Xiao visited the Galactic Parliament building and met with the Speaker of the Galactic Republic Parliament, Phoenix Valorum, the most influential figure in the galaxy. Phoenix Valorum, a kind and elderly gentleman, treated Tang Xiao with great respect, offering advice and guidance like a mentor to a protege, covering various aspects beneficial to Dawn Planet. Despite the generational and power disparities between Valorum and Tang Xiao, the latter gained valuable insights from their conversation. However, upon learning about the Republic's final verdict on the Kali people, Tang Xiao's empathy waned. He realized that in the complex dynamics of the Galactic Council, even well-intentioned actions could contribute to the Republic's decline. 3 days later, the vote for Dawn Planet's admission into the Galactic Council was held, resulting in an overwhelming majority in favor. Dawn Planet officially became a member of the Galactic Republic, with Francis Underwood representing it in the Council and voicing its interests. After concluding his visit to Coruscant, Tang Xiao returned to Dawn Planet, where a grand celebration marked its entry into the Republic Council. During the festivities, Tang Xiao was formally inaugurated as the governor of Dawn Planet, a position he accepted with pride and a sense of responsibility towards his people and their future within the Galactic Republic. Vol 2, Chapter 269, The Tragic Hero. After the celebration, Tang Xiao immediately organized another journey to the planet of Kali. This time, he included several transport ships in the fleet, loaded with food and medicine. His initial attempt to communicate with Grievous was met with a direct hang-up. However, on the second attempt, Grievous disclosed his location. Tang Xiao led the fleet to Kali, discreetly unloaded the supplies, and then piloted a shuttle to Grievous's location by himself. The shuttle traversed the vast Genoa Sea, eventually reaching the secluded Abesmi Island. Upon arrival, Tang Xiao observed a few wooden houses, cultivated fields, and a basic flying machine. The island was bustling with life. Kali children were seen working in the fields, playing or practicing martial arts. Kali women were also busy with various tasks. Approached by one of the Kali women, Tang Xiao was greeted politely. "Are you the Angel of Mercy? My husband mentioned your visit. Please forgive our humble offerings. We have fresh Kanu fish, and I will prepare a pot of fish soup for you." "No, thank you. I need to see him directly. Who are all these people?" Tang Xiao inquired, looking around. "This is Hilal's home. His 10 wives and 30 children are here. He brought us all to escape the threat of being targeted by Huck," the woman explained, pointing towards the sea cliff. "Hilal has been praying to the water god there, hoping for the return of his true love, Kumar's body from the deep sea, so she can be laid to rest in her homeland." Tang Xiao, moved by the story, proceeded towards the sea cliff. There he found Grievous, a tall figure sitting at the cliff's edge, unmoved by the sea breeze that tousled his tattered cloak. He resembled a timeless monument. Without turning, Grievous spoke in a voice laden with wariness. "Why return? Kali has been stripped of everything. Moreover, we are burdened with a debt of 10 million credits and live under the constant threat of Huckna's return." "The people of Kali deserve better," Tang Xiao asserted. "It's too late for that," Grievous replied coldly. "What will you do now? Save my planet? Do you need my help?" Grievous sighed, gazing into the distant, stormy sea. "When I was 22, I dreamt of wielding dual knives, battling a formidable Muwu beast in the Kumbal jungle. I believed it was a divine sign, so I ventured into the jungle alone, armed only with a Churka sniper rifle, as I had no skill with knives. In the jungle, I encountered a woman, expertly wielding knives, effortlessly evading, and ultimately slaying the Muwu beast. It was then I realized the dream was not about me, but her, Kumar. The elder sorcerers spoke of an ancient Kali prophecy about the dreamer and the dream. It didn't dictate our actions, but we knew in our hearts what we must do, fight Huck. For a decade, we fought side by side against countless foes, rallying more to our cause. Though I was no swordsman, Kumar taught me to fight with dual knives. She, unfamiliar with firearms, learned to shoot from me during our moments of respite. This tale of Grievous and Kumar painted a picture of two warriors bound by fate, love, and a shared destiny to protect their world. Their story was a testament to the sacrifices made in the name of freedom and the tragic cost of heroism. Hunting with this Churka rifle was never about the game for me. I never sought to gain anything. My only goal was to save the Kali people. Ever since Huck enslaved and massacred us, I've led our resistance. Some have started calling us demigods. Though I don't believe I'm worthy of such a title, I understand they need someone to guide and inspire them, so I've never objected. As our victories against our enemies grew, so did Huck's focus on us. Eventually, Huck amassed an army of over 20,000 to launch a massive assault. During the battle, Kumar and I were separated. After we managed to repel Huck's forces, I couldn't find her anywhere. My search ended at a beach. Littered with the corpses of Huck's men and the bones of Ka, lie warriors. I'm convinced she was cornered here and fought valiantly to her last breath. Grievous's voice turned icy as he continued, but her body was nowhere to be found. The battle occurred during low tide, and by high tide, the ocean currents had swept many bodies away. I longed to see her one last time, to lay eyes on her. I prayed endlessly and came to this island, hoping the currents might have brought her here, but to no avail. When I aim my rifle now, there's no one to watch my back. When I devise a battle plan, there's no one to critique it, calling it as foolish as a moo. No one will breach the enemy's defenses for me ever again. Grievous turned to Tang Xiao, his eyes void of life. I've lost half of my existence, and there's no way to reclaim it. Tang Xiao remained silent, engulfed in the profound sorrow of Grievous's tale. Returning to the matter at hand, Grievous said, "Our last stand gave the Republic an excuse to impose sanctions and a hefty fine on Kali. Our planet, already ravaged by constant warfare, can no longer sustain itself. We used to raid Huck's supplies to get by, but now, with the land poisoned by gunpowder, nothing will grow, and with no money, compounded by a debt of 10 million, no one will sell us food." He stood, removing the rifle slung across his back. "Many will starve. I was told that if I agreed to work for him, he would pay off Kali's debt. But that still doesn't solve our food crisis. I can secure some food through black market channels, but transportation remains a significant challenge. Thus, I plan to establish a security company and hire Kali veterans. This way, they can earn a living and support themselves. As for the Huck, or the Asia Marui as you call them, I'll deal with them when the time is right," Tang Xiao proposed. Grievous forcefully planted his rifle into the ground beside him and looked at Tang Xiao. "I will remember you, Dead Angel." Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Grievous, armed with a gun, and Lundru Liji Kumar, wielding a pair of knives, fighting side by side. Vol 2, Chapter 270, Cleaning Up the Yamray. The individual responsible for hiring Grievous and settling the 10 million fine to secure the release of Kali was none other than Thornhill, the senior sector director of the Interstellar Banking Association. Despite the current co-chairman, Ford Tonis, announcing his decision not to seek re-election, Thornhill was almost guaranteed to win the upcoming election. However, he was still in need of additional leverage to solidify his position and enhance his prestige upon assuming the role of co-chair. In essence, he required a decisive tool to assert his influence. Thornhill conveyed this intention to Tang Xiao, even going so far as to boast about his achievements. Under his command, Grievous led the formidable robot army of the Interstellar Banking Association to the planet Oder Mantell. This was the same planet where Tang Xiao, in his capacity as a Sith, had previously demolished a casino owned by the Black Sun in the capital city of Walport. However, Grievous's mission was far more ambitious. he orchestrated a sweeping operation to eliminate all organized resistance on the planet, effectively purging Order Mantle of its defiant inhabitants. This drastic action was taken against several companies and organizations on the planet that had failed to honor their agreements with the Interstellar Banking Association. While it was common for entities to default on agreements with the association, viewed by many as a predatory entity, Grievous's mission was to settle these debts once and for all. Those who could pay were forced to do so. Those who couldn't had their companies and properties seized. In the most extreme cases, defaulters were sold into slavery or killed if they resisted. Grievous executed his mission with ruthless efficiency, earning Thornhill's satisfaction and approval from the high-ranking officials and governors within the Interstellar Banking Association. Pleased with the outcome, Thornhill informed Tang Xiao that the conflict between the Kali and the Yamre had been resolved. Although Tang Xiao had not directly intervened in this particular matter, Thornhill still committed to honoring the agreement for 20 Revelation-class light cruisers. Previously, Tang Xiao had sold a batch of weapons to the Yamrai, which, despite not preventing their defeat, had bolstered their confidence. Armed with these new weapons, the Yamrai had gathered their remaining forces, numbering 100,000, in the Patrum Hills, ready to launch a counterattack pending the decision of the Galactic Republic. However, their plans were thwarted before they could even begin, as the Kali, fighting desperately, were unexpectedly defeated. Now it was time for Tang Xiao to collect payment. Gross Shelby approached the Yamrai, demanding immediate settlement of the 1.5 million credits owed for the weapons. The Yamrai were taken aback, having purchased the weapons as a precaution to ensure they could sustain their position on the battlefield while seeking support from the Galactic Republic. They had hoped for a favorable outcome from both fronts, with the Galactic Republic officials quickly labeling the Kali as invaders and forcing their retreat. Tang Xiao had facilitated the delivery of the weapons, valued at 1.5 million credits, with a simple gesture. However, the Yamrai, realizing the financial strain, began to fabricate excuses to evade payment. One day, they claimed a famine threatened their planet, risking the lives of their children. The next, they lamented the extensive war damage requiring funds for reconstruction. And on another, they alleged that the Kali had stolen their funds. Tang Xiao remained indifferent to their excuses. After a call to Shelby, Shelby's demeanor hardened, signaling that the United Mining Group's Xu Yan would soon be involved, indicating that the Yamrai's attempts to default on their debt would not be tolerated. Xu Yan, the director of the United Mining Group, arrived personally to take control of the 5 mines previously occupied by the Kali people, which the Yamrai had mortgaged. The valuation of these mines exceeded 7 million credits, primarily for the mortgage of forward arms sales. However, Xu Yan didn't resort to force. Instead, he upgraded the mining equipment, hired Yamrai miners at competitive wages, and established a joint mining venture with local leaders, promoting collaborative development. Meanwhile, Gross Shelby, representing the Fourth Group, offered a more direct approach to aid the Yamrai in rebuilding. After a conversation with Tang Xiao, who was in touch with San Hill, they quickly agreed on a plan. The Interstellar Banking Association provided a bridge loan of 200 million credits to the Fourth Group, which then loaned it to the Yamrai at a higher interest rate to fund their reconstruction. This money, however, was not directly given to the Yamrai. Instead, it was used to establish a foundation dedicated to rebuilding the Yamrai's destroyed homes. The catch was that the construction contracts were awarded to the Fourth Group's own companies, employing their workers to build impractical and extravagant structures that few could inhabit, with funds lavishly spent on non-essentials like swimming pools, gardens, and elevators. Furthermore, the Public Health Department of the Fourth Civilization joined the effort, diverting a significant portion of the funds to construct a large central waste collector for the Yamrai city and installing numerous purifiers. They also imposed strict hygiene regulations to improve living conditions, albeit with the underlying motive of controlling the Yamrai's daily lives. Thornhill agreed to this scheme for 3 reasons. First, it was an opportunity to curry favor with Grievous, his most valued general. Second, the Interstellar Banking Association was well versed in such dealings. Third, the Yamre had lost their utility to the powers that be, having been financially drained by previous republics' largesse. To the Interstellar Banking Association, exploiting the Yamre was just another day's work, viewing them as expendable savages from the fringes of space. The Yamre found themselves in a no-win situation, bound by a contract that left them no room to dissent. If they refused the offered help, they would be accused of breaching the contract, facing withdrawal of all funds, plus a demand for immediate repayment of 1.5 million credits, along with penalties and late fees totaling an additional 5 million credits. This tactic of using financial leverage to drive people to ruin was a common practice among corporate giants, and now it was the Yamre's turn to experience this harsh reality. Vol 2, Chapter 271, Titan Security. Tang Xiao had a strong desire to use his resources to rebuild the homes of the Kali people. However, due to a trade embargo imposed by the Galactic Republic Parliament against the Kali people, he found himself unable to proceed with direct aid. As a result, Tang Xiao resorted to smuggling channels to transport food and supplies to the Kali people. Although this method couldn't guarantee a steady supply, it managed to save many lives among the Kali population. Tang Xiao's efforts were not solely for the purpose of befriending Grievous, but also stemmed from his admiration for the resilience and indomitable spirit of the Kali people. With Grievous's assistance, Tang Xiao made contact with 2 of the surviving generals from Grievous's original 8. These generals, known as Isvashra, were nearly invincible warriors and tribal chiefs, each commanding an army of battle-hardened soldiers. Their elite troops, referred to as Kolkpravis, meaning elite in the Kali language, played a crucial role in the Kali's resistance against the Yamri. The Kolkpravis were constantly honed and strengthened through the rigors of battle. However, with the war concluded and the Kali people struggling under fines and trade embargoes, these elite warriors found themselves without a purpose, becoming a societal burden. To address this, Tang Xiao established a security company named Titan Security. The company recruited a significant number of Kali veterans, particularly from the ranks of the Kolkpravis, offering them generous compensation. Following its inception, Titan Security appointed the 2 surviving Isvoshra generals as captains and hired 1,000 Kolkpravis soldiers, 2,000 ordinary Kali soldiers, and 500 select soldiers from the 4th Civilization Army. The crew that had previously operated as pirates aboard the cruiser Iron Fang, including Volgograd Kanidi's adjutant Wang Bin and a group of gnolls led by Buka, also joined the company. With its ranks bolstered, Titan Security established its headquarters in a tower on Nasada, a moon known for its lawlessness and dubbed the Smuggler's Moon. Nasada, with its urbanized surface and towering structures reaching up to 10,000 meters, was a hotbed of criminal activity, where the concept of crime was virtually non-existent, and only strength dictated order. Titan Security offered a wide range of services, including protection, assassination, kidnapping, smuggling, and mercenary work. Essentially, if a job required their lethal skills, they were willing to undertake it. To lead this formidable mercenary force, Tang Xiao awakened 2 legendary figures. The first was Mira Han, the head of the female mercenaries in Starcraft II, and the partner of A-Fleet Commander Matt Horner. She was appointed as the deputy commander of Titan Security. The second, serving as the commander-in-chief, was a figure even Tang Xiao found daunting. This individual's association with Grievous, who was revered almost as a deity by the Kali people, was the only reason Tang Xiao considered awakening him. This man, known simply as John in America, was feared under another name, Big Boss. A legendary veteran from Metal Gear, Big Boss was the founder of the Army Without Borders and later a notorious mercenary organization. Tang Xiao's decision to awaken Big Boss was a calculated move to maintain a balance of power within Titan Security, leveraging the formidable presence of Big Boss to keep the Kali elites in check, while also using the Kali warriors to temper the influence of this formidable individual. In Paradise, Tang Xiao was once an idealist filled with dreams. However, the dark politics between countries wounded him repeatedly, culminating in a betrayal by the entire world. Tang Xiao doubted his ability to motivate Big Boss genuinely, Yet he firmly believed that only a veteran of such caliber was fit to lead the elite team that had loyally followed Grievous to their deaths. The primary concern was Big Boss's potential to act beyond his control. Tang Xiao recognized Big Boss's ambition and knew he might not easily submit. Nevertheless, leveraging Big Boss to fortify his own security was crucial. In the event of war, this army would transform into a formidable force in land combat. The future of Big Boss was uncertain, but Tang Xiao felt secure with his fleet and his strong ties to the Kali demigod Grievous. He was confident that no mercenary, no matter how rebellious, could pose a significant threat. En route to Narsada aboard the spaceship, Tang Xiao shared with Mirahan and Big Boss the tale of the Kali people's valiant resistance against the Yamre. Their reactions varied significantly. While Mirahan was somewhat touched, her primary concern was the financial gain this battle-hardened elite could bring. Big Boss, on the other hand, felt a deep connection to the story. Learning about the Galactic Republic's betrayal, which painted the Kali people as villains and punished them severely, filled him with a cold fury. Tang Xiao observed Big Boss, noting the man's rugged appearance. With a blindfold covering his right eye and his hair and beard unkempt, Big Boss's every facial line was etched with the harshness of life, resembling a seasoned warrior in his 50s. Sensing Tang Xiao's gaze, Big Boss met his eyes. Despite having only one eye, his stare was piercing, as if capable of seeing into one's soul. As you mentioned, these Kali warriors were abandoned by the war. They are without homes, with endless conflict as their only destiny, Big Boss remarked slowly. They are not without homes, Tang Xiao corrected. They fight so their families can have a meal to eat. A meal, that's what war is about, Big Boss mused, lighting a cigarette and turning to gaze out the window, unwilling to engage further with Tang Xiao. War. War never changes, Tang Xiao repeated the phrase. Big Boss shot him a glance, his tone tinged with skepticism. I don't know where you've borrowed that phrase from, but you clearly don't grasp its true essence. Despite being a planet's governor, you're still far removed from the realities of war. Yet, war is precisely why you're here, Tang Xiao responded, his words laden with significance. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, 2 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Big Boss. Vol 2, Chapter 272, Making Trouble. The spacecraft descended towards the planet Narsada, gracefully landing on the expansive platform atop the tower recently acquired by Tang Xiao. Towering over 8,000 meters high, this structure once served as a bastion for the notorious Black Sun organization. It was later acquired by Ni Yongxiao, only to be sold to the Interstellar Banking Association at a bargain. Now, under Tang Xiao's ownership, it stood as the formidable base of operations for Giant Security. Quite the view, ha-ha! Look at those ghost fighters! Mirahan exclaimed, her gaze sweeping over the landing platform and the 10 parked ghost fighters. Her right eye, an electronic replacement, emitted a brief flash of red light. Interestingly, both commanders appointed by Tang Xiao for Giant Security shared a peculiar trait, issues with their right eyes. Big Boss had lost his right eye in battle, now concealed under a blindfold, while Mira's was a sophisticated electronic eye. Manager, Governor, welcome. I apologize for the inconvenience, but we're currently dealing with some trouble. Please give us a moment to resolve it. Wang Bin, formerly Kennedy's adjutant, greeted Tang Xiao with a salute. Despite his slender frame, gentle demeanor, and glasses, Wang Bin was a formidable pirate in his own right, having once commanded the cruiser Iron Fang on Tatooine. His ruthless efficiency and cunning had earned him a position in Giant Security, assisting Mirahan and Big Boss with their operational needs. What seems to be the problem? Tang Xiao inquired, his brow furrowing. We've got troublemakers. Hearing of a new commander's arrival, I hesitated to act without orders, Wang Bin explained. Your commander is right here, Tang Xiao said, gesturing towards Big Boss before adding, It's in your hands now. Big Boss's expression darkened at the news. The arrival of troublemakers on his first day felt like a direct challenge. Despite his newness to Tang Xiao's command, Big Boss was not one to shy away from confrontation. Let's see what's happening, Big Boss stated, and together with Tang Xiao, they descended to the tower's base. The commotion was audible the moment they stepped outside. Several workers installing holographic signs lay scattered on the ground, their efforts disrupted. B-1 robots were dismantled, and to make matters worse, a group of Kali warriors was encircled by an unruly mob. Hundreds of burly individuals from various races, armed and belligerent, blocked the entrance, shouting insults and demands. Send these Kali back where they came from. Who do they think they are, encroaching on our territory? Haven't the Kali been wiped out by those bugs yet? Who gave the Kali permission to show their faces here? Have they paid the fine? The Kali, visibly enraged yet restrained, likely heeded advice from Grievous to maintain a low profile and avoid trouble upon their arrival. Aware of their unwelcome status, yet desperate for work to support their families back on Kali, they endured the hostility. Witnessing the scene and understanding the plight of the Kali, Big Boss's gaze turned icy. He turned to Wang Bin, his voice cold. Isn't this something we can easily handle? Why wait until now? Wang Bin responded calmly. We needed to consider our position carefully. Such decisions require approval from higher up. This explanation, while reasonable, hinted at the complexity of the situation. It wasn't that the issue couldn't be resolved swiftly. Rather, the appropriate response needed to be measured and sanctioned by those in command. Big Boss, with a look of disdain, coldly snorted. And what, pray tell, do you propose we do? Waiting for instructions from our superiors, Wang Bin responded. Removing the cigar from his mouth, Big Boss flicked the ash directly onto Wang Bin's face, his voice laced with contempt. I acknowledge your competence, but you still disgust me. Here, rank holds no sway, only the honor of a warrior counts. With that declaration, he discarded his windbreaker, revealing a snug combat suit, an array of weaponry strapped to his belt, and his impressively sculpted, powerful muscles. From behind, Tang Xiao interjected, Aren't you curious about the origins of these people? It's irrelevant to me, and I'd advise you not to interfere, Big Boss replied, his expression turning stern. Mirahan, I'm aware you're more adept at handling those spaceships. Take to the skies for me. I have business to attend to here. Wang Bin exchanged a glance with Tang Xiao, who gave a slight nod in understanding. Outside, the situation had escalated. The agitators were becoming increasingly unruly, some even attempting to unmask the encircled Kali individuals. One particularly brazen individual was about to urinate at the entrance of the security complex. Wang Bin informed Big Boss, I've positioned commando units on the 2nd to 4th floors, totaling 300 men. To avoid raising suspicions, I refrained from deploying Kali warriors. Big Boss scoffed. If you're to stand with me, then drop these pretenses. With me, warriors are warriors, irrespective of their race. If you're incapable of that, then you're better off back with the governor. Without warning, Big Boss drew his pistol and fired at the head of the man outside about to desecrate the entrance. The .44 Magnum round from his specialized S-362 SB revolver caused the man's head to burst open like a watermelon. This act was like a signal flare, igniting the conflict. Immediately, glass shattered on the 2nd to 4th floors as hundreds of soldiers opened fire on the rioters below. The surrounded Kali, all battle-hardened elites, tensed up at the sound of gunfire. Seizing the moment of distraction, they sprang into action with the agility of cheetahs, their daggers finding the vital spots of their adversaries before seizing their weapons to fight their way to the fringes of the battlefield. Big Boss continued his ruthless assault, taking down several more adversaries before taking cover behind a pillar to reload. Meanwhile, Tang Xiao, seemingly unconcerned for his own safety, advised Wang Bin, who was also seeking cover. This rabble is easily managed. Command 2 teams to take the buildings on either flank and concentrate fire in one direction. That should resolve this quickly. I'm eager to see my soldiers in action. Dodging a stray bullet, Tang Xiao adjusted his hood to shield his face and remained in the hall, watching the unfolding chaos with interest. Vol 2, Chapter 273, The Hut in Trouble. The entrance of Giant God Security was now a battlefield with a relentless barrage of bullets and energy beams crisscrossing the air. Spectators who had initially gathered to watch the commotion had long since scattered, with many inadvertently wounded by stray bullets. The personnel from the Fourth Civilization present had undergone rigorous military training. Thanks to Tang Xiao's acute sense of wartime urgency, these training sessions were conducted with the intensity of war mobilization, focusing on ferocity. The gangsters attacking them were clearly outmatched. Wang Bin, the strategist, had already positioned his troops inside the building, catching the troublemakers off guard. It wasn't until the troops shattered the glass and descended from above, firing as they came, that the attackers realized the gravity of their mistake. Chaos ensued as they scrambled in panic. Amidst the chaos, Tang Xiao moved with an eerie calm, dodging bullets with minimal effort as if they were deliberately missing him. He approached Wang Bin, who was observing the scene from a safer position, and crouched beside him to inquire, "Who are these attackers? Why target us on our opening day? You're aware we're already at odds with the Black Sun, the galaxy's most formidable gang. What's there to worry about?" Adjusting his glasses, Wang Bin replied nonchalantly, "They're from the Loklu gang, the dominant force in the Nasada district. However, that's not the main issue. Their backers are the Hutts." Tang Xiao nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Given that Nasada was situated in the heart of Hutt territory, on the satellite of Nalheda, it was essentially the epicenter of Hutt power. "Which Hutt are we dealing with?" he asked. "Gorgar the Hutt," Wang Bin disclosed. Tang Xiao stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Gorgar. If I'm not mistaken, he's part of the Desologic family, Jabba the Hutt's nephew, and a member of the Hutt Supreme Council." "That complicates matters," Wang Bin observed. "Not necessarily," Tang Xiao countered, standing up and patting Wang Bin on the shoulder. "Jabba, the tyrant of Tatooine, won't last forever. Currently we have a covert alliance with the Basadi family, rivals of the Desologic clan." With that, Tang Xiao drew his blaster pistol and fired. The beam zipped through a narrow gap, striking a sniper hidden in an opposing tower directly in the eye. The battle swiftly concluded as the Loklu gang members dispersed in defeat, leaving behind a grim tally of casualties. Giant God Security's soldiers commenced cleanup operations, treating the wounded. Despite the intensity of the skirmish, their casualties were light, with over a dozen injured but no fatalities, a testament to their overwhelming superiority. Big Boss approached Tang Xiao, remarking on the volatility of their location and the audacity of their attackers. Tang Xiao responded with a vision of the future, where Titan security would stand as a bulwark against an army of clones, each a super soldier derived from the galaxy's most formidable bounty hunters. "War is on the horizon," Tang Xiao mused, lighting a cigar. "But before we face that, we need to provide our people and the Kali with a home. We need funding, objectives, equipment, and—" He paused, nodding at Mirahan, who was approaching. "We also need air support, meaning a fleet." He then handed over 2 communication frequency bands. "These belong to Ni Yongxiao. He'll ensure Giant God Security has more than enough firepower for our needs." Tang Xiao was in the midst of establishing his own faction, setting his sights on challenging the most formidable gang in the galaxy, the Black Sun. "If you're looking for a target, he's the one to beat. And this," he gestured to the man beside him, "is my A-Fleet commander, Matt Horner. Should you require fleet support, he's the one to contact." Mirahan, with a sly grin, interjected, "So the pony is under your command. I'll need to have a word with him then. Just a little chat." She then turned her mouth, attention back to the governor, her curiosity piqued. "Hey, Governor, when are you planning to raid the Hutts in outer space? After that, can I summon the pony to assist?" "What's your endgame?" Big Boss inquired, locking eyes with Tang Xiao, seeking the deeper meaning behind his actions. "What's this war you're talking about?" Tang Xiao met his gaze squarely and replied with a single word, "Survival." Big Boss took a moment to ponder, drawing a deep breath from his cigar. "I just hope you don't lose sight of your original purpose. From what I see, surviving in this galaxy is no small feat." "Intentions may evolve, John," Tang Xiao admitted. "I can't offer any guarantees. The war won't be easily resolved." He glanced towards the door, indicating a broader horizon. "Since you've already antagonized Gorgar's gang, let's see it through to the end. I'll initiate contact with the Basadi family. You won't be fighting this battle alone. The 4 groups have interests in Noxada as well. Should you need weapons and equipment, they're your go-to." Big Boss observed the diligent soldiers outside, a sense of pride in his voice. They're exceptional soldiers, youthful, loyal, and passionate. And the Kali warriors, I see a fierce determination in their eyes. He paused, his gaze lingering on the scene outside before continuing. "Survival, that's your creed. They might dodge bullets, but not all will be spared. I see their willingness to sacrifice, but it must be for a cause that's clear and honorable. War should carry a sense of glory. The impending war is devoid of glory. It's riddled with underhanded schemes and deceit, Tang Xiao remarked solemnly. I'll take them under my wing. They need me, Big Boss declared. When the war finally erupts, I'll return to your side. Tang Xiao nodded, understanding the gravity of their conversation, and departed without further words. On his return shuttle, Tang Xiao retrieved his communicator and dialed a specific frequency. He was reaching out to Baron Zemo, located on Tatooine, a planet currently engulfed in chaos. For months, Tatooine had been blockaded by a horde of bounty hunters, preventing any external vessels from entering. Any attempt to breach the blockade was met with aggressive resistance from these mercenaries. Volume 2, Chapter 254, Jawa Jabba the Hutt found himself in a precarious situation due to a promise he had made. He had offered a substantial bounty for the capture of Ghidorah, hoping to settle a debt. Encouraged by Baron Helmut Zemo, a multitude of bounty hunters had descended upon Tatooine, effectively blockading the planet. This development left Jabba in a difficult position. Despite his anger and repeated threats to eliminate the bounty hunters, he knew that such actions would tarnish his reputation in the underworld. However, the idea of paying the hefty bounty seemed pointless to him, especially since Ghidorah was still in hiding on Tatooine, seemingly out of reach. To Jabba's astonishment, the bounty hunters proved to be more resilient than he had anticipated. They insisted on receiving the bounty in full and continued their blockade of Tatooine for several months. Overwhelmed, Jabba attempted to negotiate, only to be outmaneuvered by Zemo's cunning rhetoric. Realizing he was at a disadvantage, Jabba reluctantly agreed to pay a portion of the bounty up front, with the rest to be paid in installments. This ongoing conflict left Jabba too preoccupied to focus on his true adversary, Ghidorah Basadi of the Basadi family, a mortal enemy of the Desaligic family. Meanwhile, in a remote desert on Tatooine, a Jawa desert crawler found itself under attack. Surrounded by 6 LAV-21 Pathfinder-class attack off-road vehicles, the crawler was bombarded with gunfire. Despite being a heavy mining vehicle, the crawler's bulky frame was no match for the speed and firepower of the attacking vehicles. The Jawas inside, armed only with rudimentary weapons salvaged from the desert, attempted to retaliate but to no avail. Their shots either missed or were deflected by the attackers' armor. The situation escalated when the attackers deployed anchor guns, firing grappling hooks that pierced the crawler's armor. As the attack vehicles synchronized their speed with the crawler, a Boza warrior, armed with a dagger and an M23 katana shotgun, began to approach along the steel cable. However, someone else moved faster. A figure leaped from one of the Pathfinder vehicles, its iron arms tearing through the crawler's armor with ease. This figure was the T-850, a gift from Yuri Orlov to Jason Statham. Covered in metal armor and looking every bit the demon from hell, the T-850 made short work of the Jawas, tossing them aside as if they were mere toys. The Jawas, small beings wrapped in robes with only their yellow eyes visible, were no match for the T-850's strength. Known as scavengers of the desert, they were accustomed to surviving by salvaging whatever they could find. However, this encounter was unlike any they had faced before, and it quickly became clear that their usual tactics would not suffice against such formidable adversaries. In the vast expanse of the desert, Jason Statham and Magton Scar, along with their crew, commandeered several desert crawlers, regardless of their condition. The Jawas, known for their timidity, fired a few haphazard shots in panic, only to be swiftly dealt with by Jason. Magton Scar, undeterred by the cramped and foul-smelling interior of a desert crawler cluttered with garbage and debris, tossed a few grenades inside before quickly making his escape through a window. The ensuing explosion cleared the way for them to re-enter and secure the vehicle. After about 10 minutes of chaos, the desert crawler, which had been barreling through the sands, came to a halt. Its massive hatch opened, and a large group of Jawas emerged, promptly lining up in submission. They knew all too well the perils of the desert and understood that without a vehicle, survival was impossible, especially with the presence of Pathfinder-class attack vehicles nearby. Jason Statham and Magton Scar emerged from the crawler, addressing the gathered Jawas in their native tongue. Jason announced, "You have been conquered by the Great Hutt, Ghidorah. She has decided to purchase this desert crawler and employ you as workers for a significant project, CT. Upon completion, you will receive generous compensation and your freedom." The Jawas exchanged mixed reactions, some dissenting while others consented, but ultimately they had no choice but to surrender under the threat of the Pathfinder-class attack vehicle's twin-mounted six-barrel cannons. They relinquished their weapons, raised their hands in surrender, and boarded the desert crawlers to head towards a secret location. Magton Scar turned to Jason. "This makes the 8th desert crawler we've secured. Our mission here is complete. It's time to head back." Jason, with a voice as grating as metal on metal, responded, "These desert crawlers, despite being filled with refuse, contain materials we can salvage. With the frame of the land carrier already under construction, incorporating these crawlers will ensure its completion within a month. At most, the land carrier will be operational within a year." Jason concluded with a foreboding note. Jabba's reign over Tatooine is nearing its end. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Jawa and their desert crawlers. This image showcases a makeshift market where various Jawa tribes convene to trade, primarily dealing in salvaged junk. Their trade often involves deceitful practices to swindle outsiders. The desert crawler depicted has been tidied up for the market, a stark contrast to its usual state cluttered with garbage, as seen when the protagonist in The Mandalorian ventures inside. Vol. 2, Chapter 275, The Fear of Ghidorah. Magton Scar and Jason Statham returned to their secret base, now transformed into a colossal assembly plant nestled within a secluded valley. The factory buzzed with activity. Dozens of SCVs were engaged in various tasks, while hundreds of B-1 robots handled welding and other intricate work. At the heart of this industrial hive stood an enormous skeletal frame, over 700 meters in length, beginning to take the shape of a steel behemoth. Adjacent to this towering silhouette, the 7 desert crawlers previously seized from the Jawas were stationed, 4 of which had already been modified. Their upper cabins were removed, leaving behind only the power structures, suspensions, and the massive quadruple tracks. The chassis of these vehicles had been extensively refurbished and reinforced. The remaining 3 crawlers were still in the process of being dismantled and were parked to the side. A team of hired Jawas busily cut through the decayed armor, melting it down for reuse. These armors, once components of large-scale mining machines, were made of high-quality materials far superior to the inferior steel produced on Tatooine. Once the base frame was completed, the chassis of the desert crawlers would be installed at its bottom. Following this, load-bearing modules and joint suspension modules would be constructed, culminating in the assembly of the total powertrain. The subsequent steps involved setting up assembly shops, hangar platforms, and finally, the flight deck. The entire process was estimated to take about a year, assuming a steady supply of materials. At the base, 10 STS-32 rescue vehicles were busy unloading collected minerals and materials at the processing workshop. Tatooine's recent turmoil and the numerous spaceship wrecks scattered across the planet provided a unique opportunity. These STS-32 Foreman-class rescue vehicles were deployed to salvage metal from the wreckage, repurposing it for the construction of the land aircraft carrier. However, the sheer scale of the project demanded more. Even with aviation-grade materials, the land aircraft carrier's design weight was projected to reach 125,000 tons, which would increase to 187,000 tons with the inclusion of 8 desert crawlers. The wreckage alone was insufficient to meet these requirements, necessitating the import of additional high-quality materials. Maintaining the vast base was already a logistical nightmare for the Fourth Group's commissioners, and the need for more materials only compounded their challenges. This brings us to Ghidorah the Hutt, who at that moment was lounging under a spray device resembling a colossal slug. A man in a suit stood before her, attempting to convey the gravity of the situation. "Ms. Ghidorah, your personal needs consume a quarter of our total resources. This is significantly delaying the construction of the land aircraft carrier. Do you know who I am? I am the Great Ghidorah. It is beneath me to even maintain this minimal standard of living here. Your priority should be to expedite the construction so we can use this carrier to defeat Jabba. That's the only reason I've tolerated your presence thus far." Ghidorah bellowed, her short arms flailing in indignation. "We still require at least 90,000 tons of high-strength light alloys. You must arrange for a shipment from Nexada," the man in the suit persisted. "You insolent fool! How dare you lecture the wise Ghidorah? Leave at once and send Santa to me!" Ghidorah demanded furiously. "Santa is currently occupied on another planet. I am in charge of logistics in his absence," the man in the suit explained. "Then get out of my sight." Ghidorah dismissed him with a wave of her hand and slowly made her way to her bedroom. Upon entering her bedroom, Ghidorah's communicator suddenly rang. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation. Only one person knew this frequency, Santa Claus. She relished her dealings with Santa Uriolov, for he always managed to put things in perspective. In an orderly fashion, everyone was at ease, and no matter the situation, he always found a solution. However, the moment the communication was established, what appeared in the holographic projection was a mysterious figure, the upper half of his face obscured by a hood. "Who are you?" Ghidorah demanded, her vigilance immediately heightened. "Aren't you curious about who really pulls the strings behind Santa Claus?" "Now you know. It's me, the Angel of Death," the mysterious man replied calmly. "So, you're the mastermind behind Santa Claus? Why the secrecy?" Ghidorah asked, clearly annoyed. "Because I herald the demise of this galaxy," he declared. "That's quite the claim. Tell me, what do you want with me? When will Santa Claus arrive? I want to see more. Weapons, spaceships. I aim to eliminate Jabba a day sooner and reclaim the core of Hutt power." Ghidorah said, her impatience evident. "If I were in your position, I wouldn't be so cavalier upon learning that King Hego Damask II survived the nuclear bomb," Tang Xiao remarked, a slight smile playing on his lips. Ghidorah's expression shifted dramatically, and she involuntarily stepped back. "You? What are you talking about? I have no idea. Bando Gosa has been obliterated. Their leader, after I severed his limbs, fell to the ground, a mere lump of flesh, writhing in agony. Such a beautiful sight." Tang Xiao's smile twisted into something sinister and cold, sending shivers down Ghidorah's spine. "Ars Varuna has abdicated. 2 months later, he was found dead in his secret hideout, his body completely ravaged by a virus. Only DNA analysis could reveal his identity." Ghidorah continued to retreat, accidentally knocking over tables and cabinets in her panic. "Black Sun is besieged by several corporate giants. Let's ponder, how long can Alexis Garin survive?" "Oh, but perhaps you should be more concerned with how long you have left," Tang Xiao mused with a smirk. "Are you here to kill me?" Ghidorah's greatest fear was laid bare, her heart filled with dread. This person before her seemed to know everything about the secret assassination plot she had with King Varuna, Garin, and Bando Gosa. Tang Xiao waved his hand lightly, and Ghidorah felt an immediate chill envelop her, a coldness that seemed to pierce her soul, heightening her terror. She felt as though this person could snuff out her life through the communicator alone. In reality, Tang Xiao's power was not nearly sufficient for such a feat, but instilling fear with a bit of cold air was well within his means. "I merely want you to understand the gravity of your situation. This land-based aircraft carrier represents your last opportunity. If it fails to defeat Jabba, then you should realize that your chances of returning to Nashada are non-existent," Tang Xiao said with a sneer. "But now, this is too much." Overwhelmed by fear, Ghidorah struggled to articulate her thoughts, eventually managing to blurt out a string of unintelligible Hutt words. "Jabba is currently distracted by a predicament I've orchestrated, but it won't last. Once he regains his focus, you'll face another planetary siege. If you're not prepared, well, you might end up meeting Ars Varuna and the others," Tang Xiao concluded coldly. Vol 2, Chapter 276, The Second Joint Venture Group. Ghidorah found herself backed into a corner, her voice trembling as she asked, What do you want me to do?" The smile that played on Tang Xiao's lips was chilling. "Do what you must. Eliminate Jabba, dismantle the Desiligic family, and then, once you reign over Hutt space, you'll understand." "You will assist me?" Ghidorah's realization dawned. The individual before her was beyond her ability to contend with. "My assistance is contingent on your value," Tang Xiao stated icily. In Nasada, Gorga of the Desologic family will encounter some complications, ensuring his plans falter. My goodwill extends as far as these interventions. I can do it. Alok Basadi will support me. He leads the Basadi family, and we share a strong rapport. He will aid me, certainly. Ghidorah responded hastily. Don't forget the 90,000 tons of high-quality metal materials, Tang Xiao reminded before severing the communication. It took Ghidorah 5 minutes to muster the courage to approach the communicator again. Swiftly, she dialed a frequency, summoning the holographic projection of a hut adorned with blue and yellow stripes. Alok, I need your help, she pleaded. A surprise to see you alive, and not yet a victim of Jabba's wrath, Ghidorah. A pleasant surprise, indeed, the hut, Alok remarked with a nonchalance. I'm still on Tatooine, Ghidorah informed him. That's the surprising part, Alok noted. I refuse to leave. Uncharacteristic of you, Ghidorah. Your actions have already brought enough trouble upon us. The Basadi family has faced considerable backlash at the Hutt Great Council due to your antics. I've been avoiding council meetings because of this, Alok explained, taking a puff from his pipe filled with the finest spices. No, just give me a year, and I'll prove I can overthrow Jabba, Ghidorah insisted. Alok regarded her seriously. Are you certain? Absolutely. Very well, I'll assist you for old time's sake. What do you require? I need 90,000 tons of high-quality metal, suitable for constructing warships. And whatever Gorga Desoligic is planning in Nasada, I need it thwarted, Ghidorah requested. 90,000 tons of battleship-grade steel is a tall order. As for Gorgar, there's been a new security company, Giant Security, causing him trouble in Nasada. His gang has suffered heavy losses against them, and he's furious. But dealing with the Desoligic family is a pleasure of mine, Alok said, his voice laced with satisfaction as he waved off the concern. Having secured Ghidorah's cooperation through intimidation, Tang Xiao exited the secret office within the Glory Mothership and made his way to the hangar platform. An embassy was preparing for departure. As the governor of Planet Dawn, Tang Xiao was embarking on an official visit to Planet Semirth to finalize alliance and cooperation agreements between the two worlds. Accompanied by the envoys, Tang Xiao boarded the flagship of Fleet A, the Hunter-class heavy supply ship converted into a light aircraft carrier, the Homeland. The fleet, consisting of the Homeland and 10 Vengeance-class light destroyers, set course for Planet Semirth. Upon arriving at the bridge, Fleet Commander Matt Horner immediately stood at attention and saluted. Greetings, Governor. Relax, Matt, Tang Xiao gestured, settling into the central seat of the bridge while Matt Horner positioned himself behind him, standing rigidly. How are you adjusting to command here? Tang Xiao inquired casually. It's an honor to command such a formidable fleet, Governor, Matt replied earnestly. And the combat missions? Tang Xiao continued. 7 standard days ago, we collaborated with an under the strategic direction of Mr. Niyong Xiao, a significant operation led to the interception and annihilation of a Black Sun fleet on the planet Seleucami. The operation was a resounding success, capturing 10 rescue ships and 3 Black Sun carriers loaded with spices valued at over 10 million credits. Matt Horner reported these achievements with a sense of pride. You did an excellent job, Tang Xiao commended, his smile broadening. He then shifted the topic to a more personal matter. By the way, Mira Han has recently awakened and joined our ranks. Why don't you take some time off to visit her? At the mention of Mira Han, a noticeable change came over Matt Horner. His muscles tensed, and his shoulders hunched slightly as he replied with a hint of discomfort. Given the importance of my current duties, I cannot afford to take a vacation at this moment. My responsibilities as a soldier come first. Tang Xiao found their dynamic amusing. Understood, but I must inform you that our operations will intensify next year. It's imperative that you find time to visit her within this year. Consider this an order. An order? Matt Horner's tension was palpable. Yes, an order, Tang Xiao affirmed firmly. Understood, sir, Matt Horner responded, albeit reluctantly. Upon Tang Xiao's arrival on the planet Semils, he was greeted with a grand welcome. Councillor Francis Underwood from Planet Dawn and Councilman Thunback Tula from Planet Semith were among the early arrivals, participating in the significant event. The collaboration between the two planets was a perfect match. Planet Semirth boasted a robust population and industrial base but lacked core technology. Conversely, Planet Dawn had the necessary technology but required a larger population and manufacturing capabilities to scale up. Through a series of discussions with the governor of Planet Semirth, Tang Xiao successfully negotiated several cooperative agreements. The most notable achievement was the establishment of the Higra Aerospace Group, a joint venture between the two planets. This new entity would oversee the construction of the Homeland series of warships, with Dawn Planet providing the technology and Semels supplying the raw materials and manufacturing facilities. Furthermore, the Higra Aerospace Group was tasked with assembling a scientific research team dedicated to the further development and enhancement of the Homeland series warships. Plans were also set in motion to establish production and construction teams responsible for building large space docks on both Dawn and Semirth planets. The collaboration aimed to construct a 1,500-meter level dock capable of accommodating main ship-level constructions. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Alok Basadi, the preeminent leader of the Hutt Basadi family during and after the Clone Wars. Vol 2, Chapter 277, The Fuse of Civil War. Higra Aerospace's product lineup is set to include the Blade Fighter, the Hammer-class corvette, the Pulsar-class corvette, and the Vengeance-class destroyer. Tang Xiao has also transferred some primary warship and fighter plane technologies from Homeland to them, establishing a technical department for analysis. These Blade Fighters are modified versions, equipped with basic shields, primary fusion engines, and infrared laser weapons, which are nearly invisible. Additionally, bomber and interceptor fighter models, including the previously rejected Blade II fighter and the light cavalry-class light frigate, are part of the lineup. The goal is to diversify the product range as much as possible. Once Higra Aerospace is more established, they will begin manufacturing larger warships, with the Apocalypse-class light cruisers and the Puppet-class light drone motherships currently on the agenda. After delegating the Homeland series shipbuilding to Higra Aerospace Group, the Fourth Civilization's space dock on Dawn Planet will start constructing ships from original sin of a solar empire. 2 new warships, the Javelin-class guided missile frigate and the Guard-class anti-aircraft frigate, are undergoing final testing. Furthermore, Tang Xiao has signed additional contracts with Planet Semir, including clauses for immigration and talent exchange. Both parties can employ each other's technicians through simple procedures, and Dawn Planet welcomes Semir residents to settle and has promised to build a new city for Semir immigrants. For Semir Planet, with a population nearing 10 billion, this partnership significantly alleviates their population pressure, especially after recognizing Dawn Planet's technological and spaceship construction capabilities. In this galaxy, few forces can independently design and build large spaceships, making this cooperation particularly valuable. For Semir, this partnership not only involves considerable contributions, but also marks their entry into the realm of large-scale warship design and construction, thanks to Dawn Planet. While Planet Semir celebrates, another planet on the opposite side of the galaxy braces for impending conflict. On Celia Planet, opposition to science and technology by radical members of the Presbyterian has intensified, casting a shadow of terror across the planet. Despite this, technology products have become increasingly popular among the populace. Unlike the forceful introduction of technology products during Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi's technology movement, this time, the spread is more subtle, widespread, and gradual. Secret clinics, underground black markets, synthetic antibiotics, and small terminals connecting to the Galactic Holographic Network have emerged, all facilitated by 4 network communication satellites secretly launched into orbit around Celia Planet. Given the Presbyterians' medieval level of technology, the existence of these satellites remains undetected. The expansion of knowledge and the underground efforts of dispersed but resilient members of the technical movement have ignited a spark among the people of Celia. The tension on the planet Celia had reached a boiling point. The aftermath of the robot riot at the Ilidu Business Summit, followed by the war between the Kali and the Yamre, had left the Jedi Masters, including Ki-Adi Mundi, preoccupied with matters far from Celia. This absence allowed the Presbyterian Church's behavior to grow increasingly extreme, their army intensifying inspections. Secret users of technological products were being arrested and sent to prison cities, where over 100,000 prisoners now faced dire conditions, with many succumbing to the cold and hunger. These prison cities were ticking time bombs. In a clandestine meeting place, a group of more than a dozen individuals gathered for what could be their final conspiracy. "Mr. K, we're ready," a Syrian announced solemnly. They were referring to Vitaly Orlov, known as Mr. K, who had been a beacon of hope on Celia. Following Baron Mo's advice, Vitaly had been smuggling technological items onto the planet and running a clinic to spread scientific knowledge among its people. His efforts had earned him silent gratitude and a unique gesture of respect among the Syrians, despite not having supplied any weapons. "I have 4,000 people in Rise City, ready to fight against the Presbyterian Church's tyranny," one conspirator declared. "Crow City has 1,500 people at the ready," another added, "and Qianhu City boasts 3,500, just waiting for your signal," a third chimed in. These leaders of the technological movement were prepared to follow Vitaly's lead, relying on him for advanced weapons and equipment to fuel their resistance. Vitaly, however, was conflicted. Despite his rugged appearance, with a thick, unkempt beard adding to his imposing demeanor, he harbored deep reservations. The thought of igniting a war that could claim countless lives weighed heavily on him. He didn't want to be the cause of such devastation. But as Vitaly's resolve hardened and he was about to give the signal, chaos erupted. The door to their hideout was violently breached, and the room was quickly filled with the sounds of clashing weapons and the clatter of armor. Soldiers from the Celia Presbyterian Church stormed in, arresting everyone in sight, including Vitaly. Meanwhile, from a rooftop nearby, a figure watched the scene unfold with a sly smile. Removing his hood, the onlooker revealed himself to be none other than Baron Helmut Zemo. His involvement hinted at a deeper layer of intrigue behind the uprising on Celia, suggesting that the battle for freedom on the planet was far from straightforward. Vol 2, Chapter 208, Gunshots at Norgnizir. The Gunshots of Nognisel. This civil war won't unfold as you anticipate, Vitaly. Resorting to the same tactics as before to save your brother, only to end up in prison, is futile, perhaps even facing the death penalty? Baron Helmut Zemo said with a sneer. Nearby, the leaders of the technical movement unsheathed their swords in defiance, but were swiftly overpowered. Several were slain on the spot. The survivors, including Vitaly, were bound, hooded, and loaded onto a vehicle pulled by a landbird, then whisked away. "Planet Celia requires chaos," Baron Zemo declared, turning to face a line of Celia inhabitants dressed in black, kneeling behind him. "Prepare for action. Within a month, the flames of war will engulf planet Celia." A day later, in the capital city of Kaf on planet Celia, a clandestine meeting took place in the mansion of a Presbyterian church member. "You claim to be an emissary of the Republic? Why should I trust you?" the elder asked, suspicion evident in his tone. Baron Zemo responded coolly, "I have no proof of my identity, and the Republic will not acknowledge my existence. What matters is my purpose here and what I am capable of." The last Republic envoy to visit was Braun. "He nearly incited a civil war," the elder exclaimed, his voice low but intense. "Braun was a fool. He lacks the qualifications to be blamed for the civil war," Zemo retorted. "The true cause of the civil war lies with the Presbyterian Church's inability to manage the situation. Power struggles continue until a balance is achieved." "What are you implying?" the elder inquired, growing impatient. "The Republic is dissatisfied with the current state of affairs on planet Celia," Zemo stated plainly. "That's the Republic's own fault," the elder shot back. "I've explained the reason. Now, it's about what to do next," Zemo continued. "And what do you expect me to do?" the elder asked, frustration mounting. "If you continue to evade the essence of my words, then I have no interest in conversing with someone as obtuse as a bantha," Baron Zemo remarked sharply. "We are striving to maintain order on planet Celia, and the situation is under control." "We both know that's a temporary solution," Zemo countered. "Then you should speak with our Grand Elder," the elder suggested, standing abruptly. "The Grand Elder will not accept help from the Republic, especially not technological assistance," Zemo explained, unfazed by the Elder's reaction. "So, you're a remnant of the technical movement. I should arrest you this instant," the Elder threatened, his patience wearing thin. Yet Zemo remained calm and stated, "You should recall the power dynamics from the last civil war. After defeating the technical movement, you concealed 500 assault rifles, along with approximately 10,000 rounds of ammunition." The Elder's expression darkened, and he slowly sat back down, asking in a subdued tone, "What do you want from me?" "I want you to do what you believe is necessary," Zemo replied. "During the last civil war, you realized that certain technologies, like these weapons, could shift the balance of power. If such power remains unchecked, the consequences could be catastrophic. I'll reiterate that the Republic's only concern is the stability of planet Celia. Everything else is irrelevant to us," Zemo added slowly. The Elder's demeanor turned somber. "Does that include the identity of the Chief Elder?" Zemo offered a slight smile, slid a small device across the table, and said, "This is a map. It marks the location where I've stored 10,000 blasters and enough gas for these guns to fire 1,000 rounds each. If you wish to stabilize the situation on Celia, these resources could make you the most powerful individual on the planet. If you prefer to maintain the status quo, then destroy this map. I concealed it well, ensuring it would remain undiscovered by anyone. So, farewell." With those final words, he stood, offered a deep bow to the Elder, and departed from the mansion. In the days that follow, the turmoil on planet Celia escalated dramatically. The situation reached a boiling point, especially after the Presbyterian Church's forces detained numerous leaders of the technology movement. This sparked widespread resistance across the globe. Incidents where crowds, incited to action, swarmed and attacked Presbyterian soldiers attempting to arrest users of technological products became increasingly common. As the unrest threatened to spiral out of control, several of the more radical elders decided to make an example of the dissenters. They announced that Vitaly Orlov and several other prominent figures of the tech movement would be publicly executed in Tekov City, hoping the threat of death would quell the resistance. This strategy seemed to work, as the levels of defiance appeared to diminish, emboldening the elders. They proceeded with plans for the public trial and execution, emphasizing the dire consequences of embracing technology. As the day of execution approached, after 15 standard days, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Vitaly Orlov and the recently captured tech movement leaders were brought to the square in Kaf City, where a large gallows loomed ominously. Bound and forced to kneel before the gallows, they awaited their grim fate. Presbyterian troops heavily fortified the area, ensuring no one could breach the perimeter to attempt a rescue. Meanwhile, in the distant city of Notnixel, a place soon to be etched into the history of Celia, a clandestine meeting was taking place. A group of individuals, dressed in the simple garb of field workers but with faces alight with determination and anger, gathered in a warehouse. The leader of the group, with hands trembling from emotion, produced a cloth bag and carefully unwrapped it to reveal a revolver, old and poorly maintained, with 10 rounds beside it. "It's a gun," they exclaimed, a mix of awe and excitement in their voices. "With this, we can save our village chief." The village chief had been arrested for seeking medical help from a technological clinic, an act that led to the clinic's destruction by the elders. The villagers, frustrated by the loss of access to life-saving technology and the ineffectiveness of traditional remedies, were driven to action. "My youngest son, he could have been saved," one villager lamented, the pain of loss evident in their voice. Determined to fight for their right to use technology and to demand justice for their village chief, the group set out for the city hall, armed with newfound hope and the revolver. As they approached, the quiet of the morning was shattered by a gunshot, signaling the start of the Second Celia Civil War, a fight for freedom and the right to embrace technology. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter. Curious about what a bonza looks like? Imagine a creature from the Star Wars universe, akin to a pig on Earth, and you'll have a glimpse into one of the many unique aspects of this world. Vol 2, Chapter 279, The Second Celia Civil War, Part 1. In the outskirts of Nognazur, a group of peasants stormed the city hall in a desperate attempt to rescue their village chief. They were protesting against the presbytery's decision to demolish a local clinic. The situation escalated when the inspection team, attempting to quell the protest by force, injured several peasants. Cornered and with no way out, the protesters drew a revolver, killed several guards, and took control of the city hall. This act of defiance sparked the flames of civil war across the entire planet of Celia. As if coordinated, underground technical movement organizations across various regions rose in rebellion. They launched attacks against the military, destroyed inns, seized city halls, and boldly hoisted the flags of revolt. The castle area, a hub for outsiders and the epicenter of technical movement activities, witnessed an unprecedented uprising. Within an hour, tens of thousands had overtaken the castle, executing Presbyterian officials and guards on site. The rebellion spread like wildfire, with over 40 cities reporting uprisings almost simultaneously. However, the insurgency displayed two peculiar characteristics. Firstly, there was no unified command structure. The rebels seemed disjointed, like grains of sand fighting independently. Secondly, despite identifying as a technical movement, they were severely underarmed, with only a handful of firearms among hundreds of rebels. Nevertheless, the main forces of the Celia Planet Presbyterian Church were concentrated in the capital city of Takaf, leaving defenses in other cities vulnerable. Even with their limited armament, the rebels managed to breach the Presbyterian army's defenses using the few guns they possessed. A single shot could shatter the wooden and iron shields of the army, creating openings for the enraged masses to exploit and overwhelm the soldiers through sheer numbers. Meanwhile, a sinister development was unfolding outside the capital, near the Mundi Hills. Named after the revered Jedi Master Ki-Adi Mundi, these hills were the site of house arrest for Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi, a key figure in the technical movement and instigator of the First Civil War. The Presbyterian Church, wary of potential unrest, stationed an elite force of 10,000 soldiers to guard the area, which also housed the planet's most dangerous political prisoners. However, a mere 10 kilometers from Mundi Hills, a mysterious and formidable army was amassing. Comprising approximately 2,000 soldiers, this force maintained strict discipline, blending seamlessly with the jungle surroundings. Their masks, crafted from the bones of wild beasts and adorned with blood-dyed battle marks, instilled fear in those who saw them. On average, these warriors were shorter than the Syrians, standing between 1.7 and 1.8 meters tall, and were cloaked in headscarves and garments that spoke of many battles. This was the Kali, a fearsome group known for their recent exploits in Naxada, where they eliminated the notorious Loklu gang. Leading them was the formidable Kali general, Hakimi, one of the last two survivors among the 8 Isvashra under Grievous. Hakimi, renowned for his brutal conquests alongside Grievous, had secretly journeyed to Celia with a contingent of 500 elite Kali warriors, the Kolki Prawi, and 1,500 seasoned fighters. Even the so-called ordinary Kali warriors were a force to be reckoned with, each capable of turning the tide of battle. As the civil war raged on, the arrival of Hakimi and his Kali warriors signaled a new and unpredictable chapter in the conflict, one that promised to reshape the destiny of Celia. In the shadow of Mount Mundi, Hakimi, a seasoned warrior with countless battles under his belt, prepared for another confrontation. With a swift motion, he activated a terminal, and several drones buzzed to life, ascending into the sky. They stealthily advanced towards the positions of the Presbyterian army encamped around the mountain, their cameras relaying the scene back to Hakimi. Observing the so-called elite force through the screen, he noted their formation, seemingly robust and disciplined, yet riddled with vulnerabilities. A sinister smile crept across his face. After a moment of tactical planning, Hakimi's grin widened. He drew a large, serrated knife from his back and brandished it with a fierce gesture, shouting, "Kill!" At his command, 2,000 Kali warriors surged forward, their approach reminiscent of a pack of hungry tigers descending upon unsuspecting sheep. As they neared the Presbyterian lines, pre-positioned Kali snipers sprang into action. Their precise shots eliminated the Presbyterian sentries in a swift, silent assault. Unaware of the looming threat, The Presbyterian soldiers only realized their peril when they saw the fierce glint in the eyes of the advancing Kali warriors. "Who are they?" one soldier cried out. "Outsiders! Outsiders!" another shouted in panic. "Enemy attack! Fire arrows!" But before they could muster a coherent defense, the Kali warriors breached their lines. The 500 Kolki Pravis among them were unstoppable, each a veritable killing machine. Despite their limited firearms, the Kali's strategic use of weaponry was ruthlessly efficient. Each squad was allocated a firearm, designated to eliminate any significant threat or to extricate comrades entangled in close combat. Yet, even predominantly armed with melee weapons, they were leagues beyond the Syrians in combat prowess. The planet Celia had known peace and unity for millennia. Its inhabitants led simple lives, shunning foreign technology and living harmoniously in an environment with few natural predators. However, they now faced the Yamrai, a race of mantis-like beings who had waged war and spilled blood for centuries. Despite the technological disparity, the Celia natives, relying on their mastery of melee combat, had managed to repel the advanced interstellar civilization of the Yamrai back to their homeworld, eventually seeking aid from the Republic of Kali. It's worth noting that the Yamrai, towering over 2.2 meters with natural bone blades protruding from their arms, appeared to be formidable adversaries. At first glance, one might assume the Yamrai could easily overpower the Kali, yet the reality was starkly different. The Kali, whether armed with guns or knives, demonstrated a brutal efficiency in combat. Kumar, Grievous's beloved and fellow warrior, exemplified this prowess. Wielding dual blades, she fearlessly confronted a Yamrai centurion. Despite the overwhelming odds, with the Kali outnumbered 5-1 and the Presbyterian army poised for battle, the outcome remained unchanged, a massacre. The Kali warriors, through sheer skill and ferocity, turned the confrontation into a one-sided slaughter. Volume 2, Chapter 280, The Second Celia Civil War, Middle. When Dol Fermi Bongmi was escorted out of his house under house arrest by the Kali warriors, the sight and smell of blood, along with the scattered limbs and severed arms strewn across the floor, made him vomit instantly. "Who are you?" Elder Dol stammered, terror evident in his voice. He had never before encountered such a fearsome army. "Us? We're from Giant Security. Just remember to settle the bill once this is all over." "Now, go about your business," Hakimi said nonchalantly, flicking the blood off his serrated long knife. I should." Elder Dole was still in shock, struggling to comprehend the situation. "So you're saying my brothers wasted their efforts rescuing you?" Hakimi sneered, his disdain palpable. Elder Dole shuddered, then a resolve hardened in his eyes. "I'm going to the castle. Escort me there, immediately." Hakimi nodded, then turned to his men. "I'm not sure if the folks from Celia are aware of what's happened here. Make it clear to them. Burn this place down." As flames engulfed Mundi Mountain, sending billowing black smoke into the sky, the Grand Elder in Tekhalf City Square, who was about to commence a public trial and execution, received the shocking news of Elder Dole's abduction. His face paled at the realization. Elder Dole Fermi Bongmi was a revered hero, and the Grand Elder knew the gravity of his abduction better than anyone. With Dole taken from under heavy guard, the implications were clear and dire. In comparison, Vitali Olaf, who was captured and about to be tried as if he were a prized catch, seemed insignificant. However, prioritizing the greater good, the Grand Elder commanded, "Begin the public trial. Let the judge announce this man's crimes." The officer stepped forward, cleared his throat, and began, "Today, I will list the contributions of Vitali Orlov." He established technical clinics to treat ailments beyond the reach of traditional healers. He introduced the Galactic Holographic Network, broadening our view to encompass the entire galaxy. He brought antibiotics, turning once fatal diseases into curable conditions. For such deeds, I find no crime to convict him. The Grand Elder, outraged, pointed at the judge and bellowed, "Seize him! He's a sympathizer of the technological movement." Before he could finish, voices from the crowd erupted. "Down with tyranny! Today is the day! The guns of Nognesser have fired. The fall of the Presbyterian Church is imminent. An uprising has erupted in Qianhu City. The technological movement has seized the city hall." The crowd, once passive, now roared in anger, hurling insults at the stage. The Presbyterian army scrambled to control the situation, attempting to disperse the crowd and apprehend the agitators. Then, the unexpected happened. A CR-70 frigate descended from the sky, hovering directly above the square. Through its loudspeaker, a voice declared, "Vitaly Orlov is an employee of our fourth group. He has not sold any weapons or equipment, nor is he involved in this riot. The planet Celia has no jurisdiction over our employees." The Grand Elder, pointing at the spaceship, cursed loudly, his voice tinged with hysteria. "This chaos is his doing. By the authority vested in me by the people of Celia, I sentence Vitaly to death. Execute him immediately." Unfazed, the CR-70 frigate responded with a direct shot. A fireball, over 50 meters in diameter, erupted, its blast sending the nearby Celia soldiers flying. The sight of such weaponry plunged the scene into chaos. Emboldened, the incited populace surged forward, overwhelming the army's defenses. In a sudden and unexpected turn of events, gunfire erupted amidst the crowd, the origin of the shots unknown. Several Presbyterian soldiers fell victim, their deaths sparking an immediate and violent overreaction. Nervous and unprepared, some soldiers unsheathed their swords, indiscriminately cutting down unarmed civilians, plunging the scene into chaos and bloodshed. Amidst the turmoil, the CR-70 frigate acted swiftly, deploying its tractor beam to retrieve Vitaly Orlov and making a hasty retreat, indifferent to the escalating violence below. The situation on planet Celia rapidly deteriorated, with resistance and suppression erupting in nearly every city. The audacious abduction of Vitaly Orlov by the Fourth Group's frigate, executed in broad daylight, was a direct affront to the Presbyterian authority. This brazen act not only humiliated the Great Elder, but also significantly eroded the government's prestige, fueling further rebellion across the planet. The lack of a unified command structure among the rebels led to fragmented and independent actions by various factions, creating a fertile ground for opportunists. Many harboring ambitions of power seized this moment of chaos as their chance to rise. The rebellion, now widespread, saw local officials and military commanders defecting to join the technological movement, further intensifying the conflict. In response, the Presbyterian Church, incensed by the rebellion, deployed troops to quell the uprising. Some elders, wielding considerable power, led these efforts, seizing the opportunity to expand their influence. They managed to suppress the technological movement in several cities, gradually regaining control. However, the technological movement faced a critical challenge, a dire shortage of weapons. With no access to new arms and relying on outdated weaponry from the last civil war, their situation grew increasingly desperate. It was at this critical juncture that Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi, previously under house arrest and later freed, emerged as a beacon of hope. From his stronghold, he issued a powerful denouncement of the Presbyterian Church's actions, laying bare the chaos they had wrought upon planet Celia. He declared the Great Elder unfit for leadership, positioning himself as the rightful leader to guide Celia forward. Despite the movement's lack of armaments, Elder Dole called upon all supporters to rally at the castle, promising that unity and determination would prevail against the Presbyterian tyranny. In an unexpected twist, the Fourth Group announced its intention to provide humanitarian aid to the beleaguered planet Ceria, now suffering from war-induced famine and displacement. Adhering to Celia's laws, which restricted external operations to the castle, the Fourth Group directed all supplies there, effectively supporting Elder Dole's cause. And in a poetic turn of events, Vitaly Orlov, once a prisoner, was now the envoy delivering these crucial supplies. Volume 2, Chapter 281, The Second Celia Civil War, Part 2. In the midst of escalating tensions, a significant number of members from the technological movement rallied at the castle's vicinity, aligning themselves with the esteemed elders Dole Fermi Bonmi and Vitaly Orlov. Their lack of weaponry was not a concern, for they were well stocked with food and supplies. This alliance was further bolstered by local governors seeking independence and the Presbyterian Church's elders who harbored their own secretive agendas. Consequently, the planet Celia found itself fragmented into numerous smaller factions and a handful of major powers. This chaos was precisely what Baron Helmut Zemo had envisioned. His strategy was not to consolidate the technological movement under a single banner, but to fragment Celia into warring factions. Such a scenario would obscure any direct intervention by the Fourth Group, making it difficult to pinpoint their involvement. By stirring the ambitions of the elders and local officials, Zemo aimed to plunge the Civil War into a full-blown warlord conflict. Baron Zemo believed that the key to shifting the balance of power lay in technological advancements, particularly in weaponry. The sudden descent of Celia into a warlord melee caught Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi off guard, prompting him to urgently consult with Masters Yoda and Windu at the Jedi Temple. He implored the Jedi Order to mediate the conflict, but was met with reluctance. Master Windu, after understanding the situation, stated, "The Jedi Order has no jurisdiction in the affairs of planet Celia. The planet is embroiled in a civil war, instigated by external forces, and the situation is beyond our intervention." Master Mundi, frustrated, countered, "But the entire planet is in turmoil. How can we stand by and do nothing?" He argued that the Fourth Group's involvement, though seemingly legal through the sale of holographic projectors and other gadgets, had indirectly fueled the conflict. Master Windu explained that the transactions being conducted by Celia's natives and not violating any Republic laws did not warrant intervention. And as for their support of the rebels, it's framed as aid to war refugees. The castle, being a hub for foreigners, and Elder Dole's choice of it as his headquarters, falls outside our purview, he added. Master Mundi, visibly angered, accused Master Windu of siding with the rebels. Windu, maintaining his composure, clarified, "The opposition's strategy is meticulously planned, leaving no grounds for legal action. Even the involvement of Titan Security, a mercenary group favoring melee weapons, and Elder Dole's procurement of arms from previous conflicts, does not provide a clear basis for intervention." "The Civil War has already caused immense suffering," Master Mundi lamented. Master Windu expressed his regret, acknowledging the pain inflicted by the war, but reiterating the limitations faced by both the Republic and the Jedi Order in intervening in Celia's internal conflict. The conversation highlighted the complex interplay of politics, legality, and morality, underscoring the challenges the Jedi face in maintaining peace across the galaxy. The Jedi Order has decided to treat the conflict on planet Celia as an internal matter, with Master Windu expressing that the Order has no jurisdiction to intervene unless a significant breach occurs. However, he also noted Speaker Finis Valorum's current distrust towards the Order. Ki-Adi-Mundi, seeking support, turned to Master Yoda, who emphasized the importance of maintaining the balance between the Republic and the Jedi Order, suggesting that intervention might disrupt this delicate equilibrium. Despite Ki-Adi-Mundi's frustration, he left the hall without further argument, following Master Yoda's subtle guidance. Subsequently, the Galactic Republic Council declared the conflict on planet Celia a civil war, stating that the Republic would not interfere but would allow humanitarian aid, strictly prohibiting any actions that might influence Celia's internal affairs. Gross Shelby, representing the Fourth Group, addressed the Galactic Council, clarifying their intention to provide only food and medicine to war refugees through local intermediaries, specifically Elder Dole Fermi Bami, to avoid direct involvement in Celia's governance, which staunchly rejects technological advancements. Despite the humanitarian guise, the provision of aid raised suspicions of partiality, especially given the Council's interest in exploiting Celia's situation to gain market access on a planet that has historically resisted foreign technology. The planet's ongoing warlord conflicts further complicated matters, with the Celia Presbyterian Council losing its authority, leading to widespread chaos and power struggles. In response to the escalating violence, Master Ki-Adi-Mundi sought assistance from Masters Cypher Diaz and Qui-Gon Jinn, hoping to find a solution. Despite the strained relationship between Master Diaz and Master Windu and the Jedi Order's official stance of non-intervention, Qui-Gon Jinn proposed that they must find justifiable reasons for the Jedi to intervene, viewing themselves as potentially the last hope to end the bloodshed on Celia. Master Diaz lamented the continuous unrest within the Galactic Republic, from the Battle of Marathon Fjord to the Eriadu Business Summit, and now the civil war on Celia, highlighting the pervasive absence of peace. Qui-Gon Jinn's determination to find a way to intervene underscored the Jedi's moral dilemma between adhering to their principles of non-interference and the imperative to prevent further suffering on Celia. Let us do our part in this matter. However, you should be aware that this situation won't last long. Qui-Gon Jinn stated firmly, if we can't concentrate and resolve the current issue, we're even less qualified to engage in prolonged discussions, Master Cipher. Qui-Gon Jinn remarked, I have someone in mind who might offer us some insights. Who? Master Mundi inquired with keen interest. Yuri Orlov, Qui-Gon Jinn responded. He's a war criminal, Master Mundi exclaimed, his tone laced with disapproval. Master Yoda has taught us more than once not to dismiss any possibility, hasn't he? Qui-Gon said with a smile, reminding them of their teachings. On the planet Coruscant, deep within the 5th underground level, lies the 7th prison area, prison number 7. This facility is reserved for the most dangerous felons, housing only those with a history of severe crimes. The entire prison structure is suspended approximately 50 meters in the air by anti-gravity devices. Guards on hoverbikes and in fighter jets constantly patrol the area, ensuring that the prisoners have no means of escape. Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi underwent stringent security checks before finally being allowed entry into the prison. As they waited for the guards to bring out the prisoners, Obi-Wan Kenobi couldn't help but express his frustration. The fourth group? Those bastards. Their well-trained pilots, willing to sacrifice their lives, should have been a clear indication of their ambitious nature. However, ambition alone isn't a crime, and we can't let our biases cloud our judgment. It's also uncertain what Yuri Orlov's connection to the fourth group might be, Qui-Gon reasoned. Ever since our last mission to the Endor system, the fourth group has been arming themselves at an astonishing rate. Initially, they had nothing but what could barely be called fighters, and now they've begun constructing cruisers. This escalation is alarming, Obi-Wan shared his concerns. This only proves that they were an under-equipped colony group initially, but with a powerful force backing them. The sight of that massive mothership should have been our first clue. Our investigations with the Republic's Business Administration Bureau hit a dead end, but I'm convinced that the fourth group has ties to the Interstellar Banking Association, Qui-Gon Jinn speculated, taking a moment to ponder the implications. If that's the case, then the Interstellar Banking Association's decision to sponsor such a group might be part of a larger scheme, Qui-Gon concluded. As they were speaking, 2 guards escorted a man with unkempt hair, handcuffed and shackled, to the table in front of Qui-Gon Jinn. It was Yuri Orlov, the notorious arms dealer. Despite his status as a prisoner, Orlov seemed unfazed, greeting the Jedi with a carefree smile and a well-groomed appearance, suggesting he was faring well in prison. Oh, if it isn't our esteemed, honorable Jedi Knights. What a pleasure, Yuri greeted them cheerfully. It seems the inmates in Ward 7 haven't been too harsh on you, Yuri Orlov. Perhaps we should consider transferring you to Ward 11 next time, Obi-Wan Kenobi retorted coldly. No, Mr. Jedi, you should provide me with what I desire, Yuri countered, wagging a finger. Obi-Wan Kenobi was about to react angrily, but Qui-Gon Jinn gestured for him to remain calm. Qui-Gon then produced a red tower from his robe and handed it over. You should be thankful that this product from the fourth group, a spice deemed illegal by the Republic, hasn't been used yet. In my view, you're merely committing slow suicide by indulging in this highly toxic substance. Chronic suicide pales in comparison to the pleasure of inhaling smoke, Yuri Orlov remarked, as he skillfully opened the case, took out a cigarette, and lit it. He took a deep drag, looking up at the ceiling with a look of bliss on his face. You know, this stuff is quite popular in prisons now. Ever wonder why I haven't been treated like a common felon? Well, that's one of the reasons. Is there another reason for that? Obi-Wan asked, his tone suggesting he already knew the answer might be complex. Yuri Orlov's involvement with the fourth group and his unexpected comfort in prison hinted at deeper layers of intrigue and connections that the Jedi were only beginning to unravel. Yuri Orlov leaned in close to Obi-Wan, the scent of smoke lingering on his breath. He adopted an exaggerated expression and declared, Because I am Christmas, the Christmas Santa Claus. It's nothing more than a tedious code name, Obi-Wan retorted dryly. Ah, but this code name grants them access to an arsenal, weapons, ammunition, even spaceships, Items that are scarce on the black market are within their reach through me. I am their Santa Claus. Tell me, who wouldn't desire a thrilling Christmas gift? Yuri raised his fist, then opened it suddenly, mimicking an explosion. Boom! Bomb! Those criminals might have a dozen lives on their conscience, but you, Yuri, are responsible for more deaths than all of them combined. Obi-Wan Kenobi exclaimed, his voice heavy with anger. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Yuri Orlov in custody.